tonight. We'll start with Commissioner Thomas leading the prayer, and then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join us.
Please join us. Gracious Heavenly Father, we just thankful for this time to come here and do our county's business. We're just thankful for everyone that chose to participate and all those that are watching at home. We just ask you to be present with us tonight and just guide us, just give us wisdom, and just allow us to do your will in everything we do. We ask in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, on the agenda, I'd like to pull item 7 off consent. Let's move item 3 that's under public hearings to planning and zoning. This is actually a P&Z item, not really a public hearing. Does anybody else have any changes they'd like to make? Okay. Got a motion then?
Motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion second. All for the motion? Aye. Aye. Motion passes. First is the public hearing on signs. Louis.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman. This is for to adopt an ordinance regarding amendments to Section 618 of the Land Development Code pertaining to signs. This is for needed updates and clarifications. The board had a workshop on this issue, so I won't go through all the details. But I will point out that the staff did try to, we made an extra effort to make sure that this ordinance did not create any non-conforming signs from the legally existing constructed signs that are out there. We did add some updates of items that were not previously mentioned, such as the digital display billboards. We added a provision for commercial wayfinding signs. On March 4th, the board did have a workshop on this item where there was changes made to the election signs. They were previously 16 square feet in commercial and 4.5 square feet in residential. Now they're 4.5 square feet in commercial and residential. We also addressed school bus shelter signs in this ordinance. The Planning Commission heard this item on May 13th. They recommended 7-1 against the ordinance, basically resulting in concerns regarding the replacement of existing non-conforming signs for non-profit entities. We've drafted some language that you should have before you that shows in red some language that would address this concern. Staff is recommending option 1, which is adoption of the ordinance as written, and you can discuss whether or not you want to address the revised language that we provided, and we're available to answer any of your questions.
I'd very much like to see this revised language included. It resolves all my issues that I've mentioned.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'm very concerned that this is going to create a lot more non-conforming signs. If you'll indulge me, I've prepared a PowerPoint presentation that I'd like to show you some specific examples, and let's see if and here's some copies of it as well. I've taken photos and I've put excerpts from the areas in the ordinance. This is a property on Woodville Highway. The proposed ordinance says only one roof sign may be located on the roof on any building, and all roof signs shall be set back a minimum of 3 feet from the edge of the roof. This property would become non-conforming under that. Next line. Also, Woodville Highway, Wakulla Pregnancy Center, there's a requirement that signs be no more than 20 square feet in size. This would be a problem with this property. I'm going to just flip through these quicker, but if you need more detail, just stop me. Next one, we've got a gas station. It's, freshly painted, brand new. There's a requirement that the sign be no more than 20 square feet and also be no more than 20% of the wall area. So I think, I haven't measured it, but you can see that kangaroo there is approaching a third of it. So I think we're well in excess of 20%. Next one. This is a sign that is actually on a residential property. I guess this would fall under the new proposed wayfinding sign, but it's on a residential property, and the proposed ordinance says that sign can be no more than 4.5 square feet, so that would be a problem. Next. Only one freestanding sign may be located on a particular parcel adjacent to a street. There's 3 signs there. Shell Island, that was the big one. Permanent commercial signage shall only be permitted on a parcel of a property zoned for residential use where the property has been approved for a home occupation pursuant to section blah blah blah. This is a corner lot on a residential property, and you know the business is not taking place in there, so I'm sure there's no conditional use there. Also, it's going to exceed the 4.5 square foot sign face, and then it's going to also be a problem with the permanent off-premises sign provision. Next one, this one may or may not be a problem because it's in St. Mark's and it would require an interlocal agreement, but it's an example of how this would not fit our current ordinance. Only one roof sign, or proposed ordinance, only one roof sign may be located on the roof of any building or structure. All roof signs shall be set back a minimum of 3 feet. You know, this property's been there a long time. You know, I think it's in keeping with the coastal community. I personally just don't see how that would be a problem. Next one, this property is located right across from Winn-Dixie. Only one roof sign may be located on the roof of any building or structure. Karen's Kitchen and Bakery, that's brand new. They've barely been open a week, I think. That would be a problem. Next one, in the event a property already contains a freestanding sign, it may not also have a roof sign. That'd be a problem. That's the same property there across from Winn-Dixie. Next, Crumb's Mini Mall. Only one freestanding sign may be located on a particular parcel. Next, wall signs, again back to no more than 20 square feet, no more than 20% of the, I mean, when you look at both of those, they're freshly painted. I think they're very professional. I personally just don't see that that's a problem, and I would hate to think we'd adopt something that made it a problem. Next one, only one roof sign may be located, and also the 3 foot setback. Next one is Angelo's, same thing with freestanding sign, can't have a roof sign, and vice versa. And then the last one is the Holiday Campground. I think that's, I'm sorry, not the last one. I think that's been there for a long time, since the 70s, but that would now become non-conforming. And I might point out that non-conforming is not necessarily a problem until they go to replace the sign or have some repairs. Then it becomes a problem. And then last one, Eden Springs, they've got 2 signs up. Personally, I don't think that there's a problem with having that, and so I have a hard time voting for something that's going to throw so many. I'll say that this is just I gave up. There's tons more that I can tell you. If we look at the wording that says that can't be more than 20 square feet, we can look at Winn-Dixie, we can look at Ace Hardware, we can look at Myra Jeans, we can look at Vance Auto. I mean, this is going to be we're going to throw a lot of properties into a non-conforming status. I don't like having to put additional burden on the properties, or business owners down the road, and so I would like to say we need to do a lot of cleanup on this thing before we move forward.
Louis, are these examples, are they in compliance today?
No, a lot of the signs that are there probably did not get permits or predate the sign ordinance. As I indicated, we simply adopted what was on the books with some slight revisions, and we actually made things a lot more compliant. But I think, as far as enforcement goes, it's been spotty at best. We could try to go back and address every sign that's out there and come up with an ordinance that addresses that, but we're already a year into this, and as I expressed, I think my concern is that we need to get some sign ordinance on the books and then come back and address individual issues.
I guess my question, does this proposed ordinance make these it's not in effect right now, the new ordinance we're looking at, does the new ordinance make these signs any more non-conforming? Is there one in here that's conforming now that will be non-conforming once we do the ordinance?
No, I mean, not to my knowledge. I think many signs were erected prior to the zoning ordinance or did not get a permit, so I think there may be, this ordinance would not affect the status of those signs.
So the ordinance doesn't affect the signs that are already up?
Well, if they're non-conforming under the code as it exists, then they're non-conforming under the new code. I mean, we were careful not to make any changes that would go out there, and if somebody got a legal permit, we didn't want to make them non-conforming, so we were real careful not to do that. I don't think we've done that to my knowledge.
Everything that's out there now can stay as is without penalties or fines or...
Well, if they didn't get a permit or they didn't comply with code somehow, then their status will not change as a result of this ordinance. But if they're non-conforming now, they'll be non-conforming when we adopt the new ordinance, let me put it that way.
So basically, they would have to come get a permit.
Well, that's right, they'd have to be made legal somehow, yeah.
They'd have to be made legal according to this document.
That's correct, and if they don't comply with the ordinance, with the language that we have, then they won't comply, more than likely, with the new language, so.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Thomas, I mean, most of the issues, and I haven't looked through your PowerPoint in detail yet, seem to be related to the 20 square feet size for a wall sign.
There's also the 20% rule comes into play a lot, and also just the roof sign in general. You know, the first example with Sandy Bottom says you can only have one sign. Well, that particular property has a sign going north and a sign going south, and so there's two signs, and Bolin's has 3 signs, and so there's several examples. And I be honest, I gave up. There are others out there that I thought were problems, but figure after 15, I've hopefully made my point.
The 20% has always been in the code. The 20 square feet is something that was added, so you could strike that and just go back to the 20% that's in the existing code, or you could, you know, that is just one option.
And I'd be for striking it, but in the example of the Rock Landing sign, you know, it's painted on the side of a building, and also the pizza place down on Clotney Bay, you know, it's a very attractive, very professional sign. It just takes up the entire side of the building.
We struck out that 20 square feet. That'd be just as non-conforming today as they will if we adopt this new one, correct? Okay. I'm with Ralph. If we can take out that 20 square feet.
The only problem with non-conforming is that as we go forward, they're still non-conforming. So what do we do about non-conforming signs?
Well, I think my proposal, let's fix this, because if we make all these folks let's just benefit of the doubt, let's say they're non-conforming, and we reaffirm this ordinance and they're still non-conforming. Well, if we have a storm tomorrow and, you know, Holiday Campground, the signs blow off, now she's not going to be conforming. She can't build it back the way it is. And so, you know, when I look at
that's the reason you build it back to the new code. That's the whole purpose of that. As these time out, and that's when they have to come back up to the new code. If not, you're always going to have old signs.
I totally agree with that, but when I look at these examples, I don't personally have a problem with them. I don't think that they're offensive. I don't think they hurt our community. I think these are, and there's some out there that I, you know, couldn't state.
Well, I understand, but
these are examples I think that I wouldn't have any problem allowing these to be rebuilt in their current storm.
The problem is though, is there's so many varieties of signs out there. There's no way that we can bring back an ordinance that's going to address every single sign that's sitting out there.
That's the way I
allow it and have provisions for it. There's just no way.
The way I understood this, that if they was already in place at the time that we did this, that they could stay in place, but in the event, say if they blowed down or whatever, if they need to be replaced, they would have to be replaced to the new standard, but it would be in a way grandfathering whoever was in there at the time that we've got it code, but they wouldn't have to change to the new one unless they blowed the sign down or something.
Yeah, because we can't get an ordinance that's going to talk to every single sign that's existing today.
When you take this change, though, if you have a wayfaring sign, talking to Jack out there, promoting local business, nonprofit organization, or community point of interest, you can replace it if it's destroyed, even if it's on residential property.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So with that, I would recommend we do this. I can go along with getting rid of that 20 square feet also, if that's what the existing code only says.
I can go along with that. If we change the 20 square feet, if we just strike the 20 square feet, and everybody stays where they are, and if your sign blows down, then you come back under the code.
So you realize that 20 square feet means these have to go.
We're going to strike it.
Nope, they would still be there. If you strike
They're not in compliance today.
You strike the 20 square feet, they're going to still be there.
Not in compliance today. We're not making it any worse on that sign.
That's right.
We're not making it better, but we're not making it worse.
Right.
But if we make it better for him, we gotta make it, whoever it is, we gotta make it better for everybody else.
That's right.
Which opens up Pandora's box in my mind. I agree. But if we make...
It's tough. It's,
gotta treat everybody the same.
that's right. It's the,
Those,
You wanna let citizens talk, and then we'll talk some more?
mhm.
Jack,
those things.
have you read this, Jack?
No, I think I've missed something, because I've had this discussion.
Why don't you do me a
back and
favor?
forth.
Read this, and I'll call you back up later, all right? I think you need to read that.
These are sudden changes that were put in since the fund was turned down by the plan.
Correct. Chuck Robinson?
Chuck Robinson with the Wakulla County Chamber of Commerce. Commissioner Thomas has just listed several businesses here, and he's indicated that there are many, many, many other businesses out there. I've heard from many, many, many of these other businesses that are viewing this thing as an unfriendly move. Yes, they realize there's a compliance issue, and they'd certainly love to take care of it reasonably, but to go ahead and cast this as it is, and all of a sudden put a bunch of people in danger of having to change their signs relatively soon. It could be this summer. You know, if we get hit by a major hurricane, it could be all those businesses having to change their signs immediately. And most of them, after a storm, for example, are not going to be prepared. It's going to be the last thing they think of. So I can tell you, this list, this is just the beginning of businesses that are concerned about this. And really, it seems like the businesses have been ignored when it comes to this ordinance. Thank you.
Let me ask one more time. Thank you. Under today's ordinance, if one of these signs gets blown down, would it have to be rebuilt to the current standard? Yes? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Ms. McMillan?
Bay. I just don't know where to start. It never ends. Businesses are having a tough time. Wakulla County is no exception. I tell you, it's stressful when I see continually businesses to close. And I agree with the fact that concessions need to be made. You people need to be friendly. You need to look after us. You need to help us. You don't need to just keep on dreaming up more and more and more and more. Our two signs have been there. The one on the roof has been there since the 70s. And our son that's deceased put that there. And let's just say that it loses an O on holiday. You're gonna make me tear the whole thing down? You're gonna penalize me? When is the permitting going to come to start costing us more money? More money. We're having a hard time. And it's not just Holiday Campground. Holiday Campground's open. But what I saw that he had put together is just the very beginning of the signs and the issues of the businesses that are going to ask you to be friendly.
Thank you. Bob?
Thank you for letting me speak. As a business owner, a realtor, I'm obviously going to come down on the side of business owners, and I know how effective signs are because I can put a sign out and maybe it's a day or two because I need other information before I get it in the MLS. I can get calls almost immediately with a sign. They're extremely effective. I moved here a long time ago, and usually I don't go down this road, but I guess I am. I moved here a long time ago because this was, if you want to call it, maybe the wild frontier. Other people have different names, but it wasn't a homeowners association. And that's why I feel that this will lead us toward is
is closer to when you come down 319 or when you come across the bridge at Okalotney Bay and you see $100,000 worth of stuff, it's going to look like the interest of a homeowners association. So I didn't like the other one. I think y'all, the other ordinance, I think when you put everybody in non-compliance in the first place was wrong. I certainly don't like this one. Now, I had a sign when I had my office up at North Point Center. I had a sign across the top of it, and it simply said real estate. I couldn't put that there. In fact, I guess the guy that just put it up is non-conformant too. All those people, it's more than 20%. But I needed the advertisement. Like she said, it's pretty tough running a business these days. So we got to have order. I respect you, and I know we're friends. I know all of y'all. But hear us when we say that signs are very effective and don't cripple us. I know you can't go out and put paper yard signs up everywhere, but just don't cripple us. Let us at least do that. Have signs. Thank you.
Jack?
Vote against this. Stand up with the Planning and Zoning Board and stand up against this attorney who is trying to basically take businesses, our rights, and everything else. Well, we pay her a grand total last year of $244,000, $796.91. I'm sorry, this has put people through hell for no particular reason. I tried to reason with them. I have had meetings, endless. I talked to Louis Cerna, salary $54,999.98. Getting nowhere. It's as if they wait for the words to stop. Summer has worked with us and tried to help. I don't see the necessity for this thing. I don't see the problem. We had language in here which basically allowed for nonprofits. At the last minute, at the 11th hour, .9, after they were trashed by the Planning and Zoning Board, it was kind of them to put in a word or two on nonprofit. I don't trust them. I don't like them. I have to tell you, we are hurting. What Gene McMillan told you is just the tip of the iceberg of the pain that this area is receiving. We should be working with our businesses. Places like the Wild Mammal Association and everything else, they don't even have a sign. You have to drive it down a dirt road, banging around looking for something this big. We should be supporting and appreciating the Historic Society, the other things, nonprofits. Yes, you can throw a golf specimen in with it, but nevertheless, these are people that work, continuously for the benefit of our community. And we have bureaucrats over here who, for some reason, decide to take what was in the law and trash it. Take this law and put it in the garbage can. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, commissioners?
I'll start off if I may. So it would seem to me that if it were just one vote and it was my vote, I would do it this way: that all the signs stay as they are. If they blow down, they can be replaced as they are. New signs will follow the conforming of this statute.
Okay, anybody else?
How would we enforce that?
And I'll support it as long as we do Ralph's change of getting rid of the 20 square feet, and we incorporate those other changes for the wayfinding signs that could be allowed on residential property.
What are you supporting, Mr. Chairman?
As going forward, as modified by Ralph's suggestion, which is take out the 20 square foot restriction on signs, on whatever they are, the wall sign, and then adding in the proposed language that would allow wayfaring signs on residential property to now become conforming, and they're allowable, and you can do them. So in other words, if the Heritage Center up there wanted to put a sign saying Heritage Center this way, they could put it on residential property. Whereas before the change, it was restricted to commercial property only. I would support that.
I would support that also. And I also think that having a set of rules that all people who want to put up signs are following, that no one has a distinct advantage and everyone has an equal playing field. And your point about treating all people equally is well taken.
I agree with the language that Commissioner Thomas mentioned, but I also want to just stress that I think is very important in any sign that's been in place, like Ms. McMillan has mentioned since the 70s. You know, it's very important that those signs be grandfathered in, and I think they should be allowed to replace those signs as well whenever they blow down.
They're allowed to be repaired so long as the damage isn't more than 50% of the replacement value of the sign, which is what.
So if she has something that blows off, she can fix it without having to replace the sign.
Yes.
But if it's 50%, she's now going to have to set that back 3 feet from the edge of the roof. And there's also a provision that says if she has a freestanding sign, she can't have a roof sign. So that means she's not going to be able to replace the roof sign.
He said damage. I don't think he said replaced. If, in other words, if the O fell off.
She's got to come in compliance if she's over 50%. She's got to come in compliance with the entire proposed ordinance, which means
over 50% is
over 50%.
Just like the FEMA regulation.
So she'll have to choose, do you want your freestanding sign or do you want your roof sign? That's what you guys are asking her to do.
Make an ordinance excluding Ms. McMillan, Ralph. We have to treat everybody the same.
I gave you 16 examples and I can show you 100.
And there's probably a lot of examples that weren't there that aren't nice looking signs. I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, as you know, we're always willing to, make modifications through the process, later on if you want to, I'd recommend moving forward and on a case-by-case basis come in and, look at some situations where it makes sense to adjust the code. But again, we're going back to what was on the books earlier, so as far as it being non-business friendly, we're going with the same code, with the exception of the, the things that I mentioned. And a lot of times we're providing, the commercial wayfinding, which we didn't have before.
Well, I thought there was a fair way to grandfather these signs in that could be replaced. I'd absolutely go for it. I really would.
I'm not asking for any special treatment for anyone. I'm asking 5 people to take a look and figure out, pick a sign. Is that acceptable or not? Are you going to tell Wakulla Pregnancy Center their sign's too big? Well, we're going to take the 20 foot, so that we solved that problem. But what about all the other ones? What about this one right here? Wonder how many thousands of dollars that they just spent. That's over 20%. Who cares about the 20 square feet? That's going to still be.
What if that was a picture of something that was offensive to you?
Well,
you're taking your politicians. Politicians are then deciding what is right and what's wrong. We need to set the rules if we want to. I really wish there was a way to make it where the people that have spoken, we can guarantee them there.
I think the people that own the property should decide how the sign looks. A sign is advertising, and they wouldn't be there if they weren't effective advertising. So now we're regulating the advertising in these businesses, and I'm absolutely opposed.
I want to go back to the same thing I just said, is that the signs that are there stay there and they become conforming. We will just make them all conforming. And if Billy Bob's sign blows down, I don't care half or full. If it blows down, Billy Bob can put that same sign back as it was. Now that takes care of everything that's here today.
There was a way to do that?
There's no way to do that.
No way to do that.
That's the problem.
We'd have to go out and inventory every sign in the county and say, all right, you're in compliance from this day forward.
This church right here, their sign blows down, they're going to have to go back to a smaller sign or relocate it to a different property. What are we hurting? How does that hurt?
Well, that'd be a wayfaring sign, right, on a residential property?
Maybe, and that is new that we yeah.
That's right. Are you saying that we can't just say today that the signs that are there stay there?
We don't know what signs are there. That's the problem.
So we're going to go overboard. We're going to put very tight standards. I'd say.
Ralph, it's no more tight than it is today.
That's right. It's no more tight than it is today.
We're not tightening anything. So if these signs have made it all these years with the old ordinance, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't make it all.
Because now we've got fresh eyes, new employees, fresh teeth to put into the backside of these business owners.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm a business owner too, so go ahead.
Yep. Either for Mr. Cerner or Attorney Encinosa, the prior sign ordinance, when did that get put in place?
It looks like it was before my time here, so let me,
I think it's 05.
is it a year annotated in here? Is it,
There were sign regulations in 85.
there were sign regulations? 86, oh, 90.
86, yeah, there were sign regulations in place in 86 apparently.
But
The billboard changes were made in 2005.
Okay. Okay. So at least from 2005 and possibly back to 86, but certainly in 2005, we had, whatever the restrictions were, whatever the rules were, these are no tighter than they were back then, with possibly the exception of a new category, which we didn't have before, the wayfaring sign, and addressing the political signs during election years, the size of, on commercial and residential property.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so we've had no problem with the sign ordinance for at least 8 years.
That's correct.
Okay, and we're not making it any tighter.
All right, y'all ready to vote?
Yep.
I'm not ready to.
Want to talk about it as well?
We gotta have a motion on the floor.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve with the amendment by Commissioner Thomas,
What about the language on the wayfaring?
and including the language on the wayfaring signs.
I mean, we've picked out one little piece, one little problem that I've noted and said, let's cut that out. But what about all the other problems? You know, it's not gonna solve this problem. It's not gonna solve, you know, many of the problems.
Howard's your motion? Do you want to change your motion, or do you want to leave it at the 20 square foot, taking the 20 square foot out?
What Commissioner Thomas had
Right, which is
recommended.
taking out the 20 square feet.
I already, that was my first.
Okay.
But just for the record, that's just one point out of a dozen problems that I have that are gonna put these signs in non-conforming category.
So they're already in a non-conforming category. Is there a second?
What?
Just see if there's not a second, but the item's going to die.
I'm gonna say that it brings to a vote.
Okay? Anybody else want to talk? Jerry?
I have a problem with, if the sign blows down, they can't put the same sign back. And if I could solve that problem, then I could vote for it. But if a sign blows down and they can't put the same sign back, then I can't go along with it either.
Now, I'm not anti-business or anti-sign, trust me, but if you have a house on the coast that's a ground level house and it blows down, you can't build it back on the ground.
That's a different story.
All right, anyway, any more discussion? Call for the motion? Go ahead.
Well, I just would kind of like to ask, you know, we had a workshop on this, and why wasn't this brought up much more in the workshop?
The reason I didn't bring it up is because I just did all this homework this weekend. That's the way I spent my weekend.
You know, I mean, you know, I respect you very much as a fellow commissioner, but, you know, we did have a pretty lengthy workshop. And this has been
Workshop
going
is
on a
when we
while.
were first exposed to it, and so since then, I've done my homework.
Okay.
If this votes, okay, say if this votes down, are we able to bring it back in a different form? Heather?
I don't think there's any way, which I wish there was, I don't think there's any way to address Jerry's concern, no matter how we do it, that's saying if you're here today, you can rebuild if it gets blown down. Am I correct in that assumption, or?
I don't know how you would be able to ever do that.
Well, you just bring me the blown down sign, and I'll let you put it back.
Then they say, well, it washed away or it blew away, we can't find it.
Well, we're talking.
That's what I mean, if you're right, I
It
would
really
too.
hasn't been a problem so far, so
Right.
I think I know that there's ways to work around the famous 50% rule.
And we're willing to come back and look at specifics, let me put it that way. But again, it's been over a year it predates me that this process started, so.
Is there any way, since we're not dealing with FEMA regulations, just thinking out loud, to allow an appeal process? If your sign gets totally destroyed on an individual basis, then you can come back and appeal to have it replaced?
Sure.
There's their appeal process.
Yeah, there's an appeal process, and I would think for historic signs like Macmillan's, and there could be an appeal process for that, because there's
Let me be clear on
historic
this.
signs, yeah.
Her sign is totally destroyed. She does have an avenue where she could appeal to replace it just as it exists.
Just as it was, because it was historic. That would be a way to address what Commissioner Moore was talking about, but we would have to handle it on a sign-by-sign basis. We wouldn't, it's hard to write a broad law to address it all.
I can do that.
You know,
I mean, what is the problem when we have a statement in there that says if you have a freestanding sign, you can't have a roof sign? I mean, is there a single example that you guys can point to that that's just bad business and that just represents our county wrong? I mean, I have a problem with the fundamental things, not looking at just, you know, whether or not they can replace it. If it doesn't make sense, why don't we carve it out? If Bolin's has been that way and people love to go to St. Mark's and it has 3 signs on the roof, how in the world does that cast our county in a negative light? If somebody wanted to build right next door and also put 3 signs and look just like that, why would that be any of our business? Why should we regulate that?
We're saying basically that if Bolin's signs all blow down, that she can come to us and we will hopefully approve the same signs going back.
And if you want to build right next to her and make it look just like her building and have 3 signs, you can't do it.
That's
Exactly right.
Because we're regulating that.
All right, we ready for a vote? All for the motion?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1. All right, on to the, Heather, what about the item on the homestead exemption? I mean, the family homestead, you said you might need to pull that, is that not the case?
We're recommending that you continue you can hold the public hearing and take comment for people who are here interested. We recommend that you continue it to the next meeting for a final vote. There may have been a snafu at the Department of State on their end on stamping or approving and filing the comp plan. So we wanted to run that information down before we bring this to a final vote, since this implements the comp plan.
Do you need a vote to continue it, or since it's a public hearing, we can just...
I would recommend that you have your public hearing, it's been advertised, and then before you close it, you vote to continue it to the next meeting.
Okay, so this is going to be talked about again.
Yes.
Bob Banzi.
My name's Bob Banzi and I support it. Thank you.
Me too.
So do I.
Can we just go ahead and get a motion to continue it, since we're going to be talking about it anyway?
Motion to continue.
Second.
Okay, I think this is a great idea, by the way. All for the motion?
Aye.
All right, passed 5-0. Awards and presentations. Keith? CTST, which is Community Traffic Safety Team.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Keith Blackmar. I'm chairman of the CTST. I'm also the PIO for the Sheriff's Office. I promise not to bring up any signs or anything like that. I think we're good.
We love signs.
Let me just say a little bit about the CTST for people who might not know what we do and who we are. We have representatives from the Sheriff's Office, FHP, ESG, the DOT, Wakulla Firefighters, Prabhu Rish, Wakulla School Board Transportation, Transfield Services, Wakulla County Commission, EMS, and several community members. And the DOT membership lets us know that we are one of the active CTSTs, most active in the region. We're all volunteers. We meet once a month on the 3rd Tuesday at the Sheriff's Office, except in July and December. And our minutes and activities are posted on the Sheriff's Office website under Community and then Traffic Safety Team. And we worked on a lot of public safety projects over the years, roads and intersections, things of that nature. We've had a hand in working to make the 267 Spring Hill Road intersection safer by redesigning that. Shadeville Highway, Spring Creek Highway was redesigned as well. We have traffic lights at dangerous intersections because of the work of this group over the years. At the present time, we're working on providing a sidewalk from the senior center to the 319 intersection. There are a number of people who are on motorized scooters, wheelchairs, and even a vision impaired citizen who need access. They use the middle of the road basically now, and then try to navigate across that intersection. So that's something we're working on now. It's going to be funded with funds not from Wakulla County, which is how we've done these things. And we're also in the process of doing some improvements to that intersection where that vision impaired citizen will have a little easier time getting across. Excuse me. Randy Merritt, of course, is our representative on the CTST now. That's about some of the things we do. Today I'm here for the Member of the Year, and that is Mike Stewart. Mike Stewart has served us for 10 years as our County Commission liaison. He's loaned us his NJ ROTC classroom as a place to meet over the years. He's always been supportive in working with us and the County Commission and making sure that we have all we need staff-wise and help with the roads, makes things as safe as possible. He's been a dedicated member who's rarely missed a meeting. So with that, I'd like to just read the plaque. Community Traffic Safety Team Member of the Year, presented to Mike Stewart, in grateful appreciation for your dedication and commitment to the Wakulla County Community Traffic Safety Team in 2011 and 2012.
You want to stand up? Can we stand up? Get over Mike's head.
Is Mike still on that?
If I can, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I would ask that you guys to continue to support the community traffic safety team. We've brought in the team. I say we. Over the years, have brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars of, not when you say free money, I mean the taxpayers pay it out of other forms, but not direct taxes. And that's what's so important to this team. I know that we don't always agree to some of the recommendations they make, especially like speed limits, but they are a separate body that meets that I think have the concern of the safety of the community. And I think that's important that y'all hear that and allow them to continue to meet and bring to you good ideas about how to make the community safer. Thank you.
Three projects that come to mind. Mike and I served on it together. One being the realignment of the intersection there at Max Meats, where it used to be skewed at an angle. That was CTST money. This intersection right up here by the cemetery was CTST money instead of having a merge lane at Keys Inn. Also, the intersection at Spring Hill Road was done with CTST money.
A lot of
money into the county.
Yes, it is, and you need a team that's aggressive and that will get after that money. And it takes a lot of help, especially from Cleve and his shop and the engineers. I know Alan has done a great job while I was there. I hope he's still on that.
Yes.
And he lends that expertise free of charge to the county, to that committee, and that really helps. So be supportive of them is what I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Sewell is going to give a brief presentation about Capital City to the Sea Trails project.
I guess the key word there is brief. Good evening, my name is John Sewell and I'm with Kimley Horn and Associates. And I'm here tonight to present on the Capital City to Sea Trails project. I need to turn this on.
Yes.
Let's see, is that the right button there? There we go. Just as a matter of record, I'm also joined by Harry Reed from the CRTPA and Jack Castrua, also from the CRTPA. And the purpose of this presentation is we're just kicking this project off. We actually just began at the tail end of March. It's a big project. This project is actually funded through the planning dollars that the CRTPA receives. And it basically encompasses Leon and Wakulla counties. So basically, what we're looking at is we're looking at creating a greater, longer network of trails, just like the St. Mark's Trail. So the 12-foot wide asphalt bike trail is really what we're talking about, and trying to connect that to communities, activity centers, schools, trying to get kids to and from parks a little safer and that type of thing. But just an amenity, multi-use trail that can be used by a variety of different users. We're looking at the history of this as something to kind of tie it together. There's a lot of history out there. I don't know if y'all know the story about the old car that was hit out there on the GF&A rail line back in 1926. Tragically, 3 local folks were killed in that accident. 4th one died later on. But the amazing thing is the shell of that old car is actually still out there on the right-of-way. We actually found it out there in the woods. It's kind of interesting. And, you know, the railway station down in Sopchoppy, there's a lot of Native American culture that's represented along the corridor. So we're going to be looking at that. We're also going to be bringing forward the economic benefits of these trails. There's some old research and there's some new research. And it doesn't matter if you look at the old research or the new, the economic return on these bike trails is incredible. The old research showed about $11 per user per day, and that was done back in the early 90s looking at the St. Mark's Trail. And the St. Mark's Trail had been in existence for about 6 years during that time. More recently, you know, looking at how Americans buy their homes, you know, their first choice is to be located next to a bike trail. Their second choice is to be located near a golf course. So that's kind of how it stacks up with golf courses. They spend more money on bike trails than they do on airports. You know, Home Buyers Association data, and I think the one at the bottom here is most relevant. That's a recent study that was completed by the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council down in Central Florida, just looking at the West Orange Trail, which would have less miles than this project would. It created 516 jobs and brought an economic impact in 1 year of about $42 million. And that's the escalation in return on investment that is pretty significant. This is the study area, and I actually left a map out in the lobby here with some newsletters that are in there. This is what the newsletter looks like. It has all the meetings scheduled for the project, the information about the project. So for the press that's here, all the factual information about the project is in that newsletter. But this is the project area. It's basically the framework between the St. Mark's Trail, US 98, and the old GF&A corridor that was studied some time ago. And we're looking at all the different options. It includes the Ocklawackee Bay Trail here in Wakulla County that's been widely used and successful and supported by the community here. This is the scope of our work. Again, we're working on this project in 2 phases. The first phase is a master plan. That's answering all the questions in terms of feasibility, engineering, environmental, funding, doing the public involvement. The second part is the PD&E study, which is basically project development and environment. It's the environmental study that will allow the project to receive federal funding, and that's really important, and that will actually start here in about 6 to 9 months. We're doing a lot of public involvement. We've got an advisory committee that's established of agency folks, and we've already actually met with that advisory committee, and your Wakulla County staff is represented on that. We've also assembled a trail advocacy group that also has representatives from the county on it. We're conducting stakeholder interviews. We're working on a project survey that's currently on the project website, which I'll show you here in a minute. We're doing a lot of outreach to different groups. If y'all have an individual group that you think would be beneficial for us to meet with, we'll meet with them. But we're going to talk to everybody in the county. We've already done a lot of this work, as you all know, but this ties all the larger network of the project together. The big thing, though, is we're coming up on our first series of public workshops. The first one's going to be held right here in Commission Chambers on June 25th at 6 p.m., which I'll come back to you here in a minute, just to get input on the project and kick the project off. For folks who are interested, this is the website that's dedicated just to this project. It's www.cc2st.com. And there's also a Facebook and Twitter that's been established, and information's already been provided on Facebook and Twitter for the project. There's a ton of information on the website, and the survey is located on that website as well. And here's where those are located. This is the project schedule. We've kicked it off, and like I said, in late March. We're going to be wrapping up the master plan part of it, not the PD&E study, but the master plan in a year. So 2014, March of 2014, we're going to be bringing this in final form back to the CRTPA board for action. We'll be coming back to you and meeting with you additionally, and I'd also like to throw out the offer to any of you individually. If you would like to meet with us, I'd be glad to come down here and meet with you individually. We could go out to the study area, look at things, answer your questions, anything you'd like us to do. And then this is the date, the next big event coming up here in Wakulla County, a public meeting for the Capital City to Sea Trails project, where we'd like to encourage folks to come and provide input on the project, specifically to maybe the area that they live in. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions that y'all have tonight. How'd I do on the brevity part?
You'll be coming from Capitol Circle through Sop Choppy and connecting into the Surf Road?
That's correct.
The issue of the dog hunters has not been resolved, I take it.
It's something that we have on our agenda to address. In the past, when we worked on the master plan here in Wakulla County, we actually met with them, talked with them, and we got a lot of good input. Actually, it was real surprising because there was a section that they didn't have a problem with, and we're going to continue those talks, and we're discussing options such as gating it off during the hunting season to accommodate that, just to allow that. But I will say that there are other parts of Florida where dog hunting and hunting goes on all around the bike trail, and really all they ever do is put a sign up. But that said, we want to make sure that we're involving those people. We're going to be meeting with them directly, one-on-one, and what we hope to do is work out a resolution that everybody will agree with, so this project can move forward. If it doesn't end up that way, the rest of the project will move forward because there's tremendous amount of support for this project in both counties. So with that, yeah, we're going to be working on that.
I like what's happening with that trail. I forget when I was involved with it, but it was basically a loop, and your idea of making those intersections, I think, is really a very positive and powerful step. I really like it.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Scott Joyner, regarding summer programs.
I just want to talk briefly about the summer programs, which are kicking off this Thursday with our registration fun days down there at the library. We're having enrichment programs for literally infants all the way up through high school. We're starting a new program with teens and films this summer that we're hoping we can show some teen self-made films at the end of the summer program. We're going to end this summer with a talent show. We have performers coming every Thursday night starting next week through early August, and 3 of the performers we're having were at the Florida Library Association's conventions, a showcase of children's performers. So we're getting some fairly well-known, in the library, child performance area performers to come down here. Everything that we're doing this summer is, of course, provided free to the public. The Friends of the Library paid for the performers, paid for the summer reading books, which I'll speak to in a second. And we really encourage any parent and family to come down here. This is the most fun we have each year. We look forward to doing it, and we're looking forward to having a good time this summer. And lastly, we have extra copies of every summer reading book for the middle schools and high schools, since the school libraries are, of course, closed over the summer. We have many copies of those also on ebook if they're available with our ebook vendor. So we encourage all the parents to take an opportunity, join us for all the fun, and come down there and get the summer reading books that their kids are going to need. Any
Have
questions?
adequate space at the library to handle all the kids?
We use both the children's room and our big meeting room, and we have the programs, 2 programs going on at the same time, so we do.
You do have plenty of room?
Any questions? All right, I'm going to leave some of these outside for anyone here that may be interested, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, can we get a motion on the consent agenda?
Make a second with that one item that was pulled.
Yes, item 7. Okay, all for the motion?
Aye.
Motion passes. Ms. Cheryl Ola. Item 7.
Thank you. I'm Cheryl Ola, your tax collector for Wakulla County, and I think it's pretty well spelled out what this is. At the beginning of any term of a tax collector, they have to decide how they want to do their budget and tell that to the Department of Revenue. And I have the choice of either making my budget through the Department of Revenue or working directly with the county. I've been fortunate enough 2 terms. I've had no trouble with the county. I've enjoyed it. I think it saves time. I don't have to submit one to the Department of Revenue and then come before you and get it approved again. So this has worked for me 2 terms. This is my 3rd term. So I'm asking you to sign a resolution saying I can work with you to do my budget.
So make a motion to approve.
Second motion.
Okay, Cheryl, did you want to?
Okay.
Do your...
Also, I thought while I'm doing that, since I'm asking for something, I might give you a little bit of information. I'm going to gloat a little bit. I promised you about $31,000 for driver's license each year. We're not quite through. We still have 4 months, and I'm going to let you know that I'm putting a check for $50,000 in your bank account.
Thank you.
All for the motion?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Cheryl.
David, just because you got that, don't try to spend it.
Notice it's a copy.
I asked for I asked for it before I gave you that, so it's not really bribery either, but I will be putting that in the bank, and I'm hoping we're going to continue. This is, I think we've managed to save money each time. When I first started driver's license, I had just hoped that we would break even, and we have done that, even with the expenses for hiring a person to do it. And this past year, I've had to put glass up, as some of you've seen. It was needed. We had the choice of hiring someone to be a security guard. We already have camera systems, but the glass is working really well, and we don't have as many things thrown at us or spit at us and things like that, but at least our revenue has covered that expense, and we've still come out ahead. So
Sure,
I thank you.
Both of my oldest daughters to pass, and I appreciate the drive.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, we want to keep services here. We don't want to lose anything.
Just buy them a car.
Yes, and I have worked, I will kind of put in a little punt. I hope Jimmy Harris from Franklin County is not listening too much, but he has decided he doesn't want to do driver's license, and we're going to try to work with a local agreement between counties if they don't want to do that, because it has been mandated that they all take it. So I think he's going to work with me, so we're going to continue to get Franklin County business.
Good deal.
Good job.
Thank you for letting me serve you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Louie, our first planning and zoning item, final plat.
Do you want to do the flood variance?
Variance.
Or
We're going to do the flood variance first.
Okay. This is a request for a variance to the flood elevation to construct an ADA accessible public restroom below the base flood elevation at the boat ramp at the Ocklawackee River State Park.
I make a motion to approve.
Second motion.
Hold on, I was letting him get through that before I did this. But this is a quasi-judicial matter, so in accordance with your code, if you have received any contact from interested parties, their representatives, any lobbyists, the applicant, or relying on any personal knowledge, you need to disclose that.
None for me.
None.
Okay. Wait a second. Is there anyone here who's going to speak on this matter? Please stand up to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And now we had a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
Second motion.
All right, motion second. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
That's 5-0. Next item.
It's also a quasi-judicial, so if you've received any contact from interested parties or their representatives or lobbyists or any third parties you're responding or relying on any personal knowledge, please disclose that for the record.
None.
No, these are the final plats, correct?
Yes.
No.
You can do it for all three of the next items or all three final plats. If there is anyone here who's going to speak on any of the next three items, the three final plats, please stand up to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we've all read these agendas pretty, so maybe just a brief explanation, Louis.
Yes, the first item, item number 11, is basically a lot line adjustment between two lots. And the applicant's agent is here if you have any questions, or I'd be glad to answer any questions. Recommending option 1 approval.
Motion to approve option 1.
Second motion.
Want to talk? All right. Any more discussion? All for motion? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item?
Next item, this is for a replat of 3 existing residential lots into 8 lots, known as Plank Hill Farms. This is for final plat. It's off of Old Plank Road, immediately south of the county line, and again, the agent is here.
Make a motion that we approve the application for final plat FP 13-01 based on recommendation of the planning commission and the findings of fact and conclusions of law made by the board and any evidence submitted at the hearing hereon.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this item?
I'll be voting against this item, based on the increase in density.
I understand. Okay, all for the motion?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1. Next item?
Next item is in the same general location as the previous final plat. It's for 6 existing residential lots into 12 lots. And again, we're recommending option 1 approval.
Make a motion that we approve the application for final plat FP 13-03 based on the recommendation of planning commission, findings and fact conclusions made by the board and any evidence submitted.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second.
To make the same observation, I'll be voting against it based on increased density.
Thank you. Okay, all for the motion?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1. All right, let's go on to something fun. YMCA agreement.
Okay. This agenda item requests board approval of the proposed agreement between Wakulla County and the YMCA for operation of the community center. During the May 6, 2013 board meeting, staff presented the board with proposed terms between the contract between the county and the YMCA. The board approved the terms in substantial form and authorized staff to begin drafting an agreement. On May 17th, the Community Center Advisory Group met and reviewed the proposed agreement. The group is in full support of the YMCA operating community center. After review, the group recommended a few minor changes to the agreement for which have been incorporated. Also, everyone knows the ins and outs of all of that. The budget impact is based upon the agreement. The county's estimated annual operational cost will be $31,849, which includes contingencies for outside maintenance and improvements. This cost will be continuously reduced through the years based upon 2 criteria. One would be over time, over a 5-year period, as well as based upon memberships, which was incorporated at certain membership levels. Our costs will go down and hopefully be expired out before the 5-year term. Therefore, it's yours.
All right, you want to just get straight into it? Is there a motion on the item?
I'll make a motion to table and consider proposals at the next board meeting that will include the possibility of exploring additional requests for proposals, other proposals or alternatives, including looking into the feasibility of the 21st Century Learning Center at the Wakulla County community site.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right, now discussion. I don't really know much about this 21st Century. It kind of came out of the blue. It says it's only for pre-K to 8th grade. Is that correct, Ralph?
That's correct.
And it's for after-school programs
as well as a summer program.
Okay, but it only if you're 9th or 10th grade, you can't have any, they won't fund it.
Not that program, correct?
But they want exclusive use of the whole building.
No.
And this 21st century, whoever they are, again, I don't know anything about it, they couldn't do these services at a different location?
They could, and they're doing the services now, and so this is a successful program that's being run now. They currently have 150 kids in their program. They have 100 more that's on the waiting list that they have to turn away. This is a grant that was given by the Florida Department of Education. It's an educational enrichment grant, and so they could utilize more of the grant funds if they had more capacity, more space to house more kids. And so, you know, what I'm proposing is not for the 21st century to come in and take over the community center. I'm not proposing that they come in and replace where we were heading with the YMCA. I'm proposing that they just be one asset of a viable community center that we can pull into that and have the county still be fully in control of the facility, look at what would be needed, how many kids we want to allow. You know, this effectively will bring, they're bringing $400,000 a year into the program, into our county right now with the program. They were awarded a grant for 5 years, $1 million a year. They're only bringing $400,000 in right now because they're at maximum capacity.
What about after 5 years or up?
Well, you know, I mean, it's the legislature, so, I mean, who knows? Who knows whether that's going to continue. But as it stands right now, there's another $600,000 that can be accessed if there's more capacity for it. And I'll say that, you know, right now the $400,000 and the proposed $600,000, almost every bit of that is going right back in the community in the form of jobs, hiring teachers, certified teachers who work in the public school system. That program is also paying the school system to bring buses from every school in this county. And so anyone can be served. It's just they're at maximum capacity, so they had to turn them away.
They themselves couldn't provide youth sports programs, and that would, your hybrid you're thinking about, can it be done with either spending little or no tax dollars?
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a net gain to us. Now, tax dollars, we're still receiving the grant, so I mean that's still tax dollars. But as far as local tax dollars, what's being proposed with YMCA is we're going to have to pay utilities. This grant will pay the cost of utilities for the hours that they're in the building. So we're going to receive some positive offset there.
If the grant was written for Wakulla Springs Baptist Church, are they able within the grant to hold that anywhere other than that location?
Let me clarify that 21st Century Learning Center is its own entity. It's being ran at Wakulla Springs Baptist Church, but Wakulla Springs is not controlling it, they just control the facility. So this could pick up and move anywhere. You know, with the community center, this could be a second site location, or it can be the primary site location if we want to house the entire thing there. TCC is the agent that sponsored this program when the grant was applied for. So they're in ultimate control over it. Wakulla Springs Baptist Church is just in charge of the facility where it's currently housed. I've spoken to folks from the church, also from the Wakulla Christian School that's also there on site, and TCC, and you know, I can't promise that all those details are worked out, but they're all agreeable to consider this and see if this is going to be beneficial. When this program came in, it was an act of service. The church is not making any money off of this thing, so it was a way to reach out to the community. So you know, I've received agreement from the leadership at the church that it's more important for them that more kids be served than they maintain, you know, ownership of it. So you know, those details do.
I would certainly prefer to move forward with YMCA. We've worked on this a long time, and but if it appears that's not going to happen, I know where Jerry's going to vote. I know where Ralph's going to vote. Now I know where Howard's going to vote. So.
You do not know where I'm going to vote. No, you don't know where I'm going to vote. And let me explain why I made the motion that I made. I made the motion because Commissioner Thomas had brought up, and it was at the 11th hour, although I was invited to visit out there at least a month ago, and I failed to do that. But after reading Commissioner Thomas's letter, I started to explore this, and I'll share some of that with you. I have some concerns. I think this is a major decision for our county. I think we need to really, you know, work hard to get all the facts together, and in no way am I saying ditch the Y at this point in time, but I did speak with the Department of Education twice by phone and met with them today. And I have concerns about whether we can actually have the 21st century program in our county building. And if we can, great, and if we can't. But I think that needs to be fleshed out. And one of the reasons is these children need to qualify in order to get into the program. And then that means, is there any problem with a select group qualifying and using a community center? In other words, it's not, that program is not open to all the children in our community, as I understand it at this point.
What qualifications?
Well, that becomes interesting for me, and maybe Commissioner Thomas can help us more with it. But when I'm, you know, this is it's part of the No Child Left Behind. I think that was started under President Bush.
2003.
And it's under Title IV. And it's, as I understand its mission, it's to provide expanded academic and enrichment opportunities to children attending low-performing schools. Well, that was like how do we qualify for low-performing schools? And I have to flesh that out some more. I think we have great schools here. I've always been told that we rank amongst the top in the state of Florida. From what I found out so far meeting with the DOE, that well, it's not necessarily the schools, even though all our schools are contributing individual students that may need extra tutoring or suggest that they need extra tutoring to the 21st century program. It's not that any of our schools are failing, obviously, but some kids are behind. So if the individual child qualifies, then apparently they can get into this program, not just on academics though, but by being eligible for supplemental or free breakfast or lunch. If they qualify for that, they can, it's a strange bird, and I don't have my arms totally around it, but I think that it's worth at least another 2 weeks for everyone to take a step back, look at our options, see how comfortable we are with this 21st century. I still have problems with the YMCA contract, not really happy. I know that the advisory committee has signed on to the changes.
Can you say what your motion was again, then maybe I missed something?
Yeah, it was to table and consider proposals for the next board meeting that would include possibly asking for requests for proposal if we don't
Possibly asking.
Yeah.
I thought you said go ahead and start
Okay.
this over again.
I'm sorry. And other proposals for other alternatives, looking, including, I didn't read the whole thing that I had.
Time to look at.
Absolutely. What are our options? Do we have Parks and Recs? Do we hire our own manager do we keep the YMCA on as the managing editor for our community center? Because as I understand it, the community center is different from, just like you were saying, Mr. Chairman, is different from an after-school program primarily centered to kids that are coming from D&E schools and that are struggling.
And only through 8th grade.
And only through 8th grade.
Provides nothing for teenagers.
That's correct.
That's my biggest.
Right, and that's also my biggest concern also. I think that is why the county got into wanting to provide a community center. We heard it from our various sheriffs that we need to provide something for our teens, a safe place where they can come, be involved with programs, shoot hoops, lift weights, whatever they want to do as teens. Provide a swimming pool is a big deal, and that's off in the future, but that's what the people wanted. They want something for the teens. And of course, the community center would be open to everyone.
So there may be a way to do all the above.
And I just think it's worth just stepping back for another couple of weeks and looking at it.
Well, let the citizens go ahead and talk. They've kind of got an idea of what's being proposed now. Derek?
Yes, I'm sorry.
There we go.
Stand up.
Yeah, come up to the microphone here.
I can't speak to any of the financial aspects or anything like that, but I am the music educator. I facilitate all the music teaching at the 21st Century program. And I currently know that she has had to turn away a lot of youth, even though it doesn't reach the high school level beyond 8th grade. There's a lot of individuals who she has had to turn away because of the space. There are also certain parts of the learning process that are slightly hindered by the aspect of having very packed space as it is now, currently. I have spoken to Charlotte about this situation, and the bottom line, I think, for her is the idea of having more space. The program is only run during an after-school time period, so everything that you have all been saying, it sounds like a beautiful plan if it could be something that works out for everyone. I know, working as a vendor at other elementary schools in Tallahassee, they run their same school operations, and the after-school program does their after-school, and there's still some other groups that come in during that and do that. So I don't know if at a community center that would be the same kind of situation, where maybe it's the YMCA runs a general operations between the hours of 4 and 6. The after-school program comes in and uses a certain amount of rooms. But it has been immensely beneficial to all of the students who I have had an opportunity to work with. Most of them have had little to no access to music, and as the music teacher, I think that it is something that definitely enhances each child's life immensely, and being able to access more would be a great thing. And the other programs that I've witnessed do the same, with bringing lots of diverse and advanced education for the individuals who might not have extra access. So,
Thank you, sir.
I agree with holding off and waiting.
Mary Walsh?
Hello, my name is Mary Walsh. I'm one of the partners at Bodytech. I'm here to ask you not to vote on this contract tonight, to consider another proposal. You know, when this bid came out for the community center, it was for programming services, you know, not another gym facility that's going to compete with us and with Anytime and the other businesses that provide the same kind of services that the Y is going to provide. I don't understand the feasibility study that's in this contract, that you're going to agree to a feasibility study and split the cost. We all know we want a community center. You know, if they want a feasibility study to see if it's worth their time to come to the county, let them pay for it. You shouldn't be paying for that. Exclusive use and priority use given to the Y on all of our buildings, then that means they have the right to all of these buildings, and the citizens of Wakulla County do not. They're going to have exclusive and priority use. We're going to pay all the expenses. It's not right. Our community center opening should not be contingent on a certain number of club memberships. If we want to open our community center before they reach their goal that's going to make them profitable, we should not have to pay a deficit of revenue to them because we want to open our community center. The 75-25 split of rents is in favor of the Y. And if we're paying all the expenses, why are they keeping 75% of the rents? We should, that should not be. And it doesn't mention membership and enrollment fees. Are we going to split that with them? It doesn't mention that. The YMCA is going to create a climate of discrimination. The only way that people who don't have the money to pay this club membership is going to be able to participate is if there's contributions from businesses or people in the county, or grant money. Who's going to have time to raise grant money? Who's going to give money? If there's no scholarships, the underprivileged cannot come. You're talking about teams being able to go. Well, if there's scholarship money, maybe they can go and lift weights, maybe they can't. Also, there's going to have to be volunteers. This was at the advisory committee meeting. The YMCA rep said, you're going to have volunteers to run your community center. Also, in addition to the scholarship money, if you want people who can't afford to pay to be able to come and use our community center, it's not right. The contract doesn't specify how much insurance they're going to have to carry. It doesn't say. It also doesn't say they're going to have to carry workers' comp insurance. I think that needs to be specified. If you're going to sign that contract, specify things like that. You know, have the insurance out there. Is my time up? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Robert Walsh?
I'm Robert Walsh, and I'm here to ask you to oppose the YMCA agreement. And I'll quickly, the YMCA, 75% of the rental fees go to the Y, 25% to the county. 100% of their membership goes to them, 0 to the county. Exclusive use of the West building, 0 for the county, all of it to the Y. Priority use for the East building and the multi-purpose building, they've got all of that, and we have non-priority use for the citizens. The expenses, the second, you've got first 2 years, everything goes to the county, nothing for the YMCA. Year 3, 25% to the county, or 75% to the county, I'm sorry, 25% for the Y. Then on year 4, it's 50-50. Year 5, then they'll start picking up all the expenses of the utilities. The HVAC system and repairs, YMCA, there's 0 cost for up to 9 years. All of the cost for the county up to 9 years. Plumbing repairs, same thing. YMCA, 0 cost. Wakulla taxpayers up to 9 years. Building repairs, 0 cost for the Y, up to 9 years for the county. Mowing expenses, same thing, 9 years up to for the Y to have 0 cost. The county paying all of that. Landscaping, maintenance, and installation, of which installation is not defined. But there again, the YMCA, up to 9 years, 0 cost. Up to 9 years, all the cost to the county. Insurance, on your Section 8, general property and liability, same way, YMCA, 0 cost, up to 9 years. Taxpayers, up to 9 years of the cost. YMCA is graciously going to give you only insurance on the property that they own. Fortunately for the county, we don't have to pay anything for that. They'll pay 100% of that. And the deficit in the operating revenue, why should you pay the deficit on something that they've gotten all the revenue that's coming in and all the expenses by the county? The feasibility assessment, as Mary said, absolutely doesn't make any sense. If you want to come into business, every private business opens up with risk. And there's no reason that the YMCA, if they want risk, let them come on down and open up like the rest of us. So there's $3,000 that's going to be split. And again, as she said, there's no guarantees for scholarships for children. That was one of the things we've heard all along. This is for the kids. This is for the kids. Where are your guarantees for scholarships? They're not in there. Your property tax, YMCA, 0. All your competitive businesses with similar services that compete with them, government mandated. Same way for sales tax, tangible tax, service tax. Everyone's the same way.
Thank you, sir.
They had over $1 million worth of salary.
Ray Purvis?
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you again for the opportunity to address this issue with each of you. I understand that several folks have spoken quite strongly, and even an article in the paper recently. So appreciate the opportunity to come back and talk to you about this. YMCA remains interested in serving the people of Wakulla County. Quite simple. Our proposal represents a comprehensive, complete offer of services to the people of Wakulla County. It does not discriminate at any level. We certainly provide scholarship assistance to the for-profit business owners in the community. The amount of financial assistance that we provide, generally speaking, across the YMCA's in the United States is greater than their tax liabilities. As far as the business questions that have been raised this evening, of course, we carry workman's comp. Of course, we carry financial assistance for students, for folks from all levels of the socioeconomic spectrum. I want to just point out, YMCA's operate to the point of the 21st Century Grant. YMCA's across the state operate 21st Century Grant programs. The YMCA's pretty much were at the beginnings of after-school programs across this country. We are the largest provider of after-school services of any organization in the United States. We know how to do after-school programs. We receive funding from the federal governments, from the state governments, and from local governments to help provide after-school programs. We do not discriminate on students that only come from Title I backgrounds or lower income, free and reduced breakfast and lunch, or lower educational or lower performing schools. We run the programs open to all. In fact, in some YMCA's, there are funds that are received to cover the cost for those students, and they are intermingled with students who come from families that are able to pay the fee for the after-school programs. So 21st Century Learning programs, not a problem. We're more than willing to work with a coalition of people to do that. It comes down ultimately to whether or not you all want to run the community center or you want to provide it to an outside group. 3 different times, you have voted to provide it to the YMCA. So if it is a matter now of having to table it again and go into more conversation, we're going to be faithful to that process. We're going to step up, we're going to talk about it. But at the end of the day, either the county runs the community center or an outside agency runs the community center. It's not going to be a detriment to us in that regard. We look forward to the opportunity to serve the community if we can make all the pieces fit. Thank you again for your consideration, and I look forward to future conversation.
Thank you. Chuck Robinson. Bob Danson.
Well, I'll make it short. Y'all kind of get the general idea. I want to, the newspaper might take note of this. I'm going to agree with Commissioner Kessler that we should table this, and of course Ralph, that we should table this and look at it. I'm okay with the why. I think it's $700 a year for a family, and I certainly can't afford that. But with the proposal that Ralph put in the newspaper and they talked about, and the one that Commissioner Kessler talked about, it seems reasonable to go down that road at least. So I'd appreciate if you considered it again and took a couple more weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Hiller.
Oh my goodness. Got right ahead. Okay. First, let me just report on the advisory committee. We voted unanimously to approve the YMCA, and we always have. There were issues on the contract in our last meeting, and we spent a considerable amount of time. There are some of the issues that we were not totally in favor of, but we are totally in favor of the YMCA. They, and they alone, can provide what this community has asked for. Yes, Ralph, we would be happy to incorporate it. You just heard from the YMCA that they do this all the time. Your program is nothing new. It's been around a long time, and the YMCA will gladly incorporate it in. That will help some of the financial issues, and that will also expand the program. But for the advisory board, I want to say again, we are totally committed to the YMCA because there's nothing else available that can provide what they can provide. We have issues, but so what? Every contract has issues. Somebody has to come out with points. You talk about the business in town, their bottom line is profit. The YMCA's is not profit. They are a non-profit organization. All they've got to do is break even. So how can we possibly compare those two things? We can't. I'll briefly, if I've got a minute, read a letter or an email that my wife, Lynn Art, sent. Dear Commissioners, please stand strong tonight in your support for the Community Center and YMCA. Remember that more than 1,000 citizens told us what they wanted. The YMCA remains our best option for achieving our community's dreams for a community center. Please remember that they are a charity whose policy is to never turn anyone away. Please note that. I don't think that our local entities have those possibilities to not turn people away because they can't pay. Certainly yours won't do that. Two benefits of the partnership with the Y that have received very little attention. First, it has the fundraising ability and the expertise to build and operate. Remember, the number one thing in the surveys was a swimming pool and swimming programs. The only possibility that we have right now is through the YMCA.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to conclude.
Thank you.
Could I say something?
Go ahead.
In answer to, it was brought up about the $700 YMCA membership fee for a family, and but if you look at the 21st century, and I understand nothing is free, and so at the user level, of course, that child isn't paying anything. But if you look at $400,000 and you look at 150 students, I don't know, it's somewhere in excess of $2,500, $2,600 a student. Okay, so that's a pretty hefty chunk also. I just wanted to pass that out because I've been fooling around with the figures, like Ralph and I like to fool around with them. So it's not like, you know, sure, at the user level it's free, but the taxpayers are paying per child $2,500, $2,600.
I would certainly be in favor of moving. I want to move forward with YMCA. I think it'd be a good idea to incorporate the program you mentioned into, especially if they're used to running it. I know it's not a church thing. I wouldn't think it mattered I wouldn't think it mattered to the church where it was located.
No.
And I did a lot of checking. I did some checking to try to make sure, at least as little as possible, they weren't going to compete with local businesses. This is going to cost more to join the Y for an individual than it would be to join a gym. Is what it boils down to, at least from what I can tell. So, but if this motion goes forward, so be it. I'll go along with that too.
I have a question for clarification. Yeah, I keep hearing the swimming pool, and I would just like to clarify, is that in the Y's plan? I mean, is that something that they're planning on implementing? Because I've had a couple people say, you know, don't kill the Y, we got to move forward the Y because we want the pool. So I would just like to clarify.
Currently, we've had discussions between the YMCA, the school board, and us, because the school board, they're getting pressure for a swimming program. And that's something that once we did this, that was the next hurdle to overcome, was how can we get grant funding for a pool, because the board also, they want a pool because they want to start a system, but they can't afford it on their own. The Y, that's what, and we can't afford it on our own, and the Y can't afford it, but all together, we could go after grants and go after the monies to get that pool, and that's the whole purpose.
I don't think we can afford the ongoing maintenance.
No, and that's what I mean. It would be a joint venture. We already talked to Bobby Pierce about it, having a joint venture between the school board, the YMCA, and the BoCC, and bringing that forward and then maintaining it long term.
First of all, Mr. Hillier, thanks for presenting Ms. Art's proposition. Saved us probably an hour. Saved us probably an hour. Yes, that's right. The second item, I've been opposed to the Y, and I've been opposed for it because I do not want any county money being, I was told in the beginning, and I opposed it then, that we would go forward with grants, and then immediately we find $250,000 out of the blue to start spending. But in the event, having said all that, one other thing, someone mentioned a $36,000 operating cost. There isn't any way in the world that you can pay utilities, water, sewer, gas, insurance, mow the yard, and whatever for $36,000. I was doing a transaction with someone one time, and they said my numbers were wrong. And I said my numbers were right, and they said, no, they're wrong. And I said, well, if your numbers are right, I'll pay you, and if mine are right, you'll pay me. Well, that changed the scope of the things. But having said all that, if Ralph can incorporate his 21st century in with the Y, then basically I'll change my position.
And I'll show you my math. It was based upon existing electric bills, so.
You're beginning to become a...
No, I mean, it's real easy. Here's electric bills times 12, so that's where it's at.
Yeah, but you ain't got...
Like Commissioner Kessler, I also didn't at first, I've only known about this for a few weeks. I called not only the Florida Department of Education just to educate myself about the program, I also called the U.S. Department of Education where the funding ultimately comes from. It comes from the No Child Left Behind Act that's funneled down to the states, and the states actually award the money to the local communities. Everything I've learned about the 21st Century Community Learning Center, it is a really great program. It does really great academic things for those that are not able to afford it on their own, and I hope we can absolutely incorporate this into the WISE program. But one concern that I have, the immediate concern that I have, is that it's only for kindergarten to 8th grade, and there's a lot of teenagers and there's a lot of adults who are wanting this YMCA. They've been promised this for over a year. They've been promised a community center for over 3 years. The grant that we got that we're presently spending, we told the state we were going to have a community center. So if we spend this money and then they come down and they see after we spent the $400,000 they gave us that we did something other than what it was we told them they were going to do, then next thing you know, we owe them $400,000 out of reserves. So we've already solved the issue that we have to have a community center. It had been mentioned, I think, by Mr. Danzy about us running our own community center. Well, if we have to run our own community center, it's going to automatically cost above more than what we have coming in now. So we would have to actually find even more money to fund the community center. I'm not against the YMCA. I believe the YMCA can coexist with the local businesses. I believe the YMCA will serve different clientele. There are single parents that are willing, that would like to work out at one of the local facilities, but they have nowhere to keep their children for them to work out, or they would. One thing the YMCA offers is a staple that whenever they have the health and fitness, but they also have what they call the Kids Zone. A single parent or family can come, the Kids Zone of YMCA will watch their children. You know, as a member, they will watch their children while they go and work out. And there's programs that even senior citizens can take care of. But I was very encouraged that whenever the Y was speaking, that they said that they would be able to incorporate this program into the Y. And I think that would be the way to go, to have the YMCA, but work with the YMCA to incorporate the 21st Century Community Learning Center into the program. I don't think the 21st Century Learning Center by itself would meet the needs of everyone has asked for in their community center. I am also in favor, and hopefully one day, the YMCA having a pool there, and I believe if the YMCA ever did get to the point of having the pool, there would be no trouble meeting their minimum memberships. I work in Franklin County. I've had people down there tell me that if we ever got a pool up here at Y, that they would be joined. They live in Franklin and would be joining the Y here. We have a lot of our residents in Wakulla driving all the way to Tallahassee to be memberships of the Y to use the pool. We wouldn't have the pool right off the bat, but if we could ever get that pool, the Y would reach the magic number of 450 memberships. It's in the contract that once the Y reaches to 400, the magic number of having 450 members, they will cover 100% of the utilities, everything. And if some miracle happens, I say miracle, but if some miracle happens and they reach that 450 ahead of the 4 or 5 year benchmark that Mr. Walsh had mentioned. Mr. Walsh mentioned the different benchmarks. Those benchmarks only happen, those 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year benchmarks only happen if they don't meet their 350, because there's a membership right to each one of those years. 1 year or 350, 2 years or 400 right on up. But as soon as they hit 450 members, they're 100% covering our costs, and all the costs that we mentioned that the county would be paying for 9 years, that would immediately be eclipsed just as soon as they hit 450. But I just want people to understand, I know there's a lot of people that are against the YMCA, but there's also a lot of people for the YMCA. And if someone doesn't want to use the YMCA and wants to continue using the local areas, that's just as fine. But I would like to see the YMCA happen for the benefit of those who do want to use it. And we've heard tonight that the 21st Century Community Learning Center, which is a really, really great program, could actually be incorporated in it. And instead of just servicing those from kindergarten to 8th grade, we would be able to service all ages. And the some that the Learning Center may not service, the YMCA would be able to service, and vice versa. I think the community center, along with the community learning center, along with the YMCA, would also make it even a better program than what it is. There's going to be some people that's against the YMCA no matter what you do. But I think the way to go would be if y'all wanted to table this and look at it in 2 more weeks to have more of an interest in the 21st century, I would be willing and going along with tabling. But if we was going to have the actual vote tonight, I would be voting for the YMCA because I know there's a lot out there that is wanting it to happen. And as far as competing with the local businesses, I just want to give an example. You know, we have a Zaxby's that's going to be coming pretty soon. We have every restaurant in Wakulla County sells chicken, but people are still excited about Zaxby's coming. Okay, and they are. And that's the truth. Everyone in this commission can't wait for Zaxby's to get it, even though Wendy's is 2 blocks down. But it's because you'll be able to have chicken with a different experience. The same way with I feel same way with Zaxby's. Want to send me $100 for that one. But the same way I feel this YMCA is the same way. It can coexist with our other businesses.
I'd like to.
Yeah, one of the things that hopefully will happen during these 2 weeks is to flesh out what the requirement, there's a requirement that the applicants, we're talking about the 21st century, provide local support to demonstrate that the program will be self-sustaining beyond the grant period. And I think that is a very important point for us to look at. And I don't know where we are with that. But I think, now also during this 2 weeks, I don't know how it's going to happen. I know I'm going to have conversations with Mr. Edwards and express what I would like to see as far as modifications to where we are right now, and I hope the other commissioners as well. But I think that the Y has to also be brought in during this time with Mr. Edwards to see how they could interface if that's what the board wanted to do. Okay? In other words, it's not the YMCA's grant for the 21st century. In this case, it would be a separate entities grant that exists in our community right now. And I don't know if there's any problems associated with that.
That's interesting. That brings up an interesting point. If this grant is, we have to maintain it afterwards, that's a whole new, that's all. I would assume the grantee, but we'd have to clarify that, because that, then all of a sudden we're throwing $400,000 on the county.
Well, that's what I mean. We have to be really clear and careful on what that association
But I would assume that would go to the grantee, which would be
I would hope so.
Whoever, or TCC, or whoever has it. That's right. That's right. Interesting.
I'd like to, one other problem I have is the maintenance and the maintenance expenses. I'd like to have whatever entities take over that building. I don't, whatever, but I don't mind allowing them to use the building. I just would prefer the taxpayers not have to pay the cost.
What, the main thing that they're paying for anything inside that is...
Yeah, but we're paying the cost.
I understand. They're paying for anything that's torn up inside, or they tear up, or their thing. What we're mainly put that in there is if we go in, realize these are county buildings. All right, so if we have an air conditioner that we've got there now, we replace that, because at the end of the day, in 90 days, we could kick the YMCA out and we would use it. We don't have to squabble over whose air conditioner is that.
I understand that, but...
And that's the rationale behind that, but it was just major items such as air conditioners, etc.
Let's take the cost of water, sewer, and utilities.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just let the Y and whoever else comes in on a pro rata basis share those things. The maintenance is not exactly a rough thing. That's not a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
The real cost is going to be the water, sewer, and the garbage. Let the Y and the whoever comes in share the expense according to their square footage use, and then
they have the full thing. So,
and then I'll be more in.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Is the motion say at the table, or is that where you're at the table for 2 weeks, and then we would look at this? And
well, hopefully during that 2 weeks, we're all doing a lot of work, so we can get here really clear.
Well, I think it's being important, Ralph. Are you going to? I don't know what your position is. If your position is you'd rather have 21st century instead of the Y, then you probably don't need to be the one talking to the Y.
Well,
no offense.
And that may be the case, and I'm not. I'm just encouraged that we're talking about this thing and we're looking into this.
It's a money-saving tack. Is that where it's coming from?
That's part of it. Jerry mentioned utilities. 21st Century will pay utilities. You know, Mr. Purvis said that they're familiar with the program. Maybe we need to start there and see what their proposal is to implement that. I would like to see us. You know, this is a community center. not a YMCA center. I'd like to see us bring the community together. Maybe if we bring the Coalition of Youth to the table, and I'm not speaking for any of these organizations, maybe if we bring 4-H and we bring the rec department and we bring the YMCA and we bring 21st Century, let's all come to the table and figure out how we can make this about the community. You know, I have nothing but respect for the YMCA, and I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but I just want to make sure that we're taking a look at the jewels that we have in our community already, and let's not push them out. Let's make sure we include them in the conversation and see, you know, let's make sure that we're serving the high school kids, make sure, you know, the whole community.
I don't want anybody to think that anybody's demonized YMCA.
No, not me.
We stand for the Young Men's Christian Association.
Absolutely. I have nothing but respect for what they're doing.
Okay, we got a motion and a second.
I'd like to thank you, Ralph, just for bringing awareness to this program. This is a really good program. I thank you.
And it's been referred to a couple times, my program. Definitely not my program. I just know about it, and I just learned about it, and you know, and I just felt I'd be remiss if I didn't.
I'll go along with that a little more, especially if we see how we can get this.
And I'd be happy interfacing, if you want a commissioner to interface with the Y and Mr. Edwards, I'd be happy to do that.
I don't think we need one to do it, but.
No, I'm just saying, since seemed like you were asking Ralph to possibly do that.
Well, I said actually Ralph probably shouldn't do it.
Shouldn't do it, okay. And if there's a need.
No problem.
If there's a need.
Off of the motion?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
We'll take a break.
Okay, sure. We'll take about a 5-minute break, maybe shades longer. Order. Louis?
I'm fine.
Yes, Commissioners, at the May 20th meeting, the board directed staff to table this item to allow the attorney time to research a legal question that's come up. And I believe Heather can answer that question, and then we can proceed to what the direction is on these subdivisions.
Thank you, Lou. The question at the time was whether the provision in section 320.8285 applied to all mobile homes or just mobile homes that were pre-1976, and we looked at it, and there are two definitions, mobile homes and manufactured homes, but the mobile home definition is an umbrella definition that consumes and covers manufactured homes as well. The reason there's a date difference in there is because the federal government changed some of the manufacturing requirements at that date, so there are a couple different ways, but the county is prohibited from, based solely on the date the unit was manufactured, from prohibiting the siting or resiting of any used mobile home or manufactured home.
I spoke to Louis this afternoon and was really hoping for some way to leave things how they were, but then be able to grant a variance to help people out whose home was destroyed. Louis, you think you may be able to do something down those roads, possibly?
Well, I think there's some legal issues that we'd have to work with the attorney's office on, and we'd be glad to look at that.
And I was going to ask that same question as far as an act of God when we had something like a fire, that there's, you know, if this is going to go in one direction or another, and if we can possibly address that individual case, that would be nice.
Maybe a more broadly worded policy, not necessarily directed at Magnolia Gardens or Grinders, but just say in general, if a county regulation requires a certain age of home, then you can at least apply for an exemption if it's destroyed or...
Well, the way I understand it, though, is we can't even leave that on the books, the ages.
Yeah, we gotta pull that off, because...
Well,
as I understand...
wording this very carefully.
If we had a variance, I mean, we could use a variance to actually solve Mrs. Rudd's problem, I think. You know?
Look, come on.
I mean, come on.
Why? It's illegal. Why are you even discussing now? She's told y'all twice.
I asked her right after the meeting, ma'am, if we could let you go ahead and replace your home because it's illegal. She said, no, we have to enforce the law that's on the books.
The recommendation from me is to take it off the books.
Yeah, she actually said that when we very first brought this up. I feel like, why are we paying her?
Why can't I get a permit to move a mobile home? And
just one at a time, please, okay?
My first question is, I don't...
It was up to me, I grant you the variance right now, trust me. But we can't. I mean, the thing does not allow variance. And yes, she said it's illegal, And Heather, tell them I asked you right after that meeting, can we let them go ahead and get a building permit since the laws are illegal?
The proper process would be to remove it from the books and then let them.
I did ask that. She said no.
I
We couldn't
understand
just.
that, but why are we're not, y'all don't listen to her. Why are y'all discussing having a variance, or if there's a disaster, that means leaving this on? Like, she's told y'all twice already to take off. So why are we paying her to keep looking through statutes?
Here's what I think, and this is just my opinion, I don't speak for the board. This issue affects so many more people than you. It's
I know.
not even funny. And if we just go through and remove all restrictions, then it's going to affect everybody's property value in Magnolia Gardens and Wakulla and Grinders and all those areas.
But
That's my sticking.
I get that, but you also made the comment, well, have we been sued yet? Well, that's kind of cavalier of the commissioners. I mean, no, but do you want to keep dragging this out and set yourself up to get sued? I mean, do you think it's fair to us that y'all are doing something illegal? You keep tabling it and tabling it? So yeah, you're not sued yet, but how long are you going to go before it happens?
Thank you. Let's see where the board is going with this. Thank you. All right, they've given us 4 choices here. I can't make a motion as chairman, so.
I have another comment about
No, ma'am, thank you. Let's see what's going to happen first, and I'll let you come back up, okay? All right, I take it by the silence, no one's got a real firm position on this
Well, I
issue.
mean, I'd like to make a comment. Here's what I'm trying to do, and I assume you guys are probably trying to do the same thing. My goal, if we can figure out a way to do this, is to try to preserve what all the property owners thought they had. Whether it was legal or illegal, they thought it would be okay to live in a mobile home. I want to protect that. Other folks have a site-built home, and you know, they knew that there were some restrictions to mobile homes, but when they bought there, they knew that mobile homes were allowed because they were already in the neighborhood.
Agree with you 100%.
But I don't want to degrade their position either. And so I don't know. It's obvious that we got to follow the attorney's advice and repeal the ordinance because it's wrong. Now, the challenge is how do we go about making sure everyone is protected?
I think the closest way to do that, fortunately, is issue 3, where we can't regulate square footage. Is that correct, Heather?
You can't regulate age.
It says that you can apply regulations relating to roofing and siding materials.
Closest we can get to what we got right now, which say you got to have. Some people even disagree with this. You got to have a 312 pitch shingle roof, and you can't have metal siding. That's the closest we can get.
I mean, I would go.
Say anything about a single wide, double wide. You know what I mean? Right now, as it exists today, and apparently it's still enforceable, you can only move a double wide trailer. Okay, but if we do that, you can now move a single wide trailer, and it may be 10 years old, as long as it's got a shingle roof and has vinyl siding. You can put a single wide there. So that takes away that person's perceived property values when they bought it there.
Do they have to have already been a mobile homeowner to begin with, or can will someone be able to bring a single wide home into a lot? Okay.
Yes.
Well, and based on whatever architectural standard, he gave those 2 examples. I mean, maybe there's something else. Yeah.
That's the only 2 we can use by statute.
Roof and siding, that's it?
Roofing and siding, yeah.
Can't say it's got to be a double wide. We can't say whatever. Now, we are saying that right now, right, Heather? Even though it's illegal, we're saying that. We are saying that now. So if you throw the bathwater out, you got to throw the baby out with it. Basically what it boils down.
So they would be able to put in a single or a double wide as long as it's got a 312 roof and it's got either vinyl or hardy board siding.
That's correct.
Or any other kind of siding, just not metal.
What about a standing seam roof,
Well, you can,
metal?
I think the 312 pitch would cover that. Most of what you're trying to avoid are the older mobile homes with just a
Cool seal.
round roof.
But he has Ralph brought up something though. So if someone has an existing mobile home there and they decide, okay, they want to put a standing seam metal roof over their shingle roof, will they be allowed to do that?
Let me ask you this. I want want to interrupt you or anything. Could we only address Grinders? I believe they live in Grinders, if I'm not mistaken. I think Grinders allows single-wide mobile homes anyway, doesn't it?
It's different. There's like they've just put a line basically down the middle, right? Isn't it like
There's different provisions for different certain.
It depends on the lot and the block.
Anything we do, somebody's going to be mad at us. All right, I'll go ahead and tell you all that right now. Because this is a no-win situation. We inherited a standard that's not legal. My suggestion was to leave the standard there and try to find a way to grant a variance, but I guess we can't do that.
Well, the extremes are, we say no mobile homes, or we say anybody can put anything they want. That's the opposite extremes I see it. So, you know, the architectural standards are probably the only place where we can find some middle ground.
We seem to get a lot of support from the Magnolia Gardens area to be homes only, so is there any way we could not touch them at this point and only address Grinders?
I can't do
You got
that.
Mr. Nelson's area right there, they spent a lot of money building those nice brick homes in. I don't know if this area's covered by that or not, I think it is.
I can't just do the one, I've got to do all three of them.
My view on the mobile homes is I have no problem with someone having a mobile home. There's different people have different economic situations, and sometimes they have to begin in a mobile home and later on build a home. That's a common practice. Plus also, you know, we have a mobile home industry actually in our county, so what we're doing is going to actually impact a local business in a severe way, depending on, say if we just absolutely say, okay, no mobile homes in Magnolias or no mobile homes in Grinders, not only have we raised the bar for someone to have a place to live, but we've also seriously impacted one of our local businesses.
So like Ralph's point was that you bought in Magnolia Gardens, you built a house, you had the expectation that anything wrong with them. I grew up in a single wide, but no one could put a single wide next to your new home. It had to at least be a new double wide. You knew that. Now we're going to take that away. And,
I've heard from 500 people, and 499 of them do not wish to have mobile homes.
all right, let's let Bob Dancy talk. He's been chomping a bit at it.
Thank you. My name is Bob Danzy. You just actually hit on what I wanted to say about this. I talked to quite a few people about it being in the real estate business, builders, homeowners, and different things. And it's just a simple suggestion, more than it is what I want or don't want. But taking each one of these independent. I know Jerry said he wanted to do all of them one way or the all of them under one blanket, I think is what you meant. But my proposal was to take each one independently, and if you came up with the same answer with all of the different neighborhoods, then so be it. But they're different neighborhoods. I mean, I'm out there selling, and people ask me questions about this neighborhood or that neighborhood or this house or that house and what you can do. There are three different animals at the end of the day. So that's just what maybe gets you through this. From what I've picked up out there is just looking at them independently, and they are what they are.
Tina, do you want to talk some more? This is really all about y'all, so.
Thanks. The only issue I have with disallowing mobile homes altogether is kind of speaks on what Teresa, she's not here tonight, was saying the last meeting, that they have low property value. There's these raggedy trailers, I'm paraphrasing here. Okay, so the people that live in these trailers, if you disallow mobile homes and say 10 years from now they want to replace with a brand new mobile home but they can't afford to build, well, they're just going to stay in that raggedy trailer with the raggedy property value. So that's just something I thought about over the weekend. If it would kind of like still leave those people that could potentially bring that property value back up. They're not going to be able to if you disallow.
How would you feel if the board decided to take the double wide restriction off of lots next to you and around you?
I would prefer to just see double ones.
I would too, but unfortunately, we got to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
I thought the only legal issue was the age. I didn't know that size was part of that too.
We can't we can't say you can only put double wides, right?
It just says here's what you can regulate. I mean, you can have fire zones, building setback and side and rear yard requirements, site development and property line requirements, subdivision control, on-site installation inspection requirements, as well as review and regulation of architectural and aesthetic requirements. However, any architectural or aesthetic requirement imposed on the mobile home structure itself may pertain only to roofing and siding materials.
So in other words, I know the rule we have now is illegal. Okay, I agree with you. My only cavalier, I can't remember the words you said, was at least we got...
probably the incorrect.
At least we got something there that says you cannot move a single wide in next to your new double wide you may buy. So it's absolutely not perfect. Is it illegal? Well, apparently it is. It's illegal, but it hasn't caused an issue in the last 15 years. If there was a way to offer a variance, I think it's absolutely ludicrous that your trailer got destroyed or your mobile home got destroyed and you can't replace one that was newer than it. I agree, that's ludicrous. If I could grant a variance, I think we all would 5-0 vote for it right now to grant you a variance. But the problem is if we grant, which we legally can't do, then the people that weren't able to apply for a variance, because I remember several of them, would then come back and could sue the county, and they'd have a much more legitimate case. At least now, the rule's wrong, but it's being applied fairly, right?
Being applied uniformly.
Uniformly. It's being applied uniformly. That's why I was asking if, to not avoid the issue, but if we could somehow work our way around it by having a variance procedure that applies not only to this subdivision, but to other subdivisions that have similar restrictions, which there probably aren't any, being in full disclosure, but at least it wouldn't be targeted towards it. That was,
I do have a
and that's the only reason I'm going down that route.
Have you already,
try to help you out.
Have you already bought the replacement home?
No, we're not going to spend our money on something that you guys won't let us bring into the county. That's ludicrous.
So
and I do want to throw out, if anybody that can afford to build a site-built home, or if anybody that's opposed to this wants to buy my property for what I paid for it, that offers there too. There's anybody.
I know you've done this, but with the extremely low interest rates, you can't do a site built for the same.
No, not the same.
Your value is, I was in real estate for 102 years. Your value in a stick-built home or a site-built home is going to go up. And your value in you lose money. Absolutely.
I would rather live in a site-built home. I said that at the last meeting. We just can't afford to build one.
You're not alone.
But I was going to say with the single wide, the lots are so small there that I don't think a single wide, because they're longer than the double wides, they would meet there's restrictions on how far from your property line that
they'll fit on a 50 by 100 lot. They have to be turned back into the lot, but people do it all the time.
Well,
and that's the hard.
No one would like that either. Turn the opposite direction from all the other houses.
Let's let you. Available lots are you talking about?
Let's come on up here, sir. Let's let you.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense because really
the area is already pretty much populated. There's not that many vacant lots. So I mean, how many? If you do give up the restriction, what are you looking at? Maybe 10, 15.
Oh, and I did look it up on the property appraiser's website, and a developer, David Alexander, owns most of the lots in our neighborhood, so I don't see him moving mobile homes. He owns our entire block. So I guess that's something else to look at.
Understand we have people that represent Logan's Ridge too, which would be desperately affected by this, that are adamantly against it. It's the hard part about being a politician. I would say that it's not cut and dry. If it was cut and dry, we'd vote 5-0 right now to give you a variance. Trust me.
And I appreciate that, but I still go back to, she's already told us it's illegal, so. And it's been really.
It is illegal, but it's probably.
So what is the problem with what we had agreed on for the last meeting, that, go back with what we had with the.
Because the restriction's still there. Until it's officially gone, we can't move forward with a permit.
All right, let us talk amongst ourselves.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And remember, when we first voted, we voted just to remove the ordinances. That was, and you warned us
I
that
voted
night.
against it.
You did. You're the only one, I think.
Yeah.
But we said, okay, it's illegal, let's get rid of it. And then we got a wave of folks that were concerned about their site-built home. And so it's a matter of just trying to find that balance.
And I didn't want to put things so totally out of reach that someone like the Rudd family there, you know, if they can't afford a site-built home, you know, if we just go strictly to site-built homes, and we're putting them completely out of reach. So that's also the balance I'm trying to look for as well. Different people have economic situations.
I wish one of y'all would come up with an answer for this, we really do.
I mean, the architectural standards, I think, are the closest we can possibly get.
That's gonna,
Well, back to what I said about earlier, you know, if somebody's already in there, they've got a shingled roof, and they want to come back later and put a metal roof on it, or they're not going to be able to put a metal roof.
take care of that.
So you would be in agreement with the architectural standard then, on your new one?
I wouldn't want any metal sided.
Well, the thing about the architectural standard, again, is it's gonna allow single wides. Now, there'll be single wides with vinyl siding and a shingle roof, but it's easy for us to sit here and say, yeah, it's a great idea and shake our heads, but you wait till the other people that live in that neighborhood that are gonna be affected by this, people that built in Logan's Ridge, that own lots in Logan's Ridge, that paid a lot of money for them, and are building
And they're all 50 by 100 lots?
140,000, yeah, well, I don't know if they're all 50 by 100 lots, but I think they're bigger than the maintenance pretty flat. But anyway, so there are other opinions out there, and I just wish this was an easy issue. Really do.
There's, single wides are allowed under your,
But that's what we're talking about.
no, they're allowed right now, even under the special ordinances.
They're not allowed in Magnolia Gardens, I don't think.
Magnolia Gardens, all Magnolia Gardens says is mobile home shall be new at the time of installation. Mobile home shall consist of a minimum square footage of 1,240 square feet.
You said we couldn't square, which is a double wide, so we can't specify square footage though, right? That's why I said, look at Grinders if you would. Do you have Grinders in front of you? Tell me what it says. How many square feet?
Hold on.
1,200.
Well, Grinders it's lot and block specific. There's several different iterations.
Whichever one they live in.
I don't know where you live.
23 or 24.
Block 31, I think.
Block, okay, well, those aren't options. So, block 10, lot 6 through 26, block 11, block 12, block 13 through 29, double wide or single wide.
Okay.
Shingle roofs, 40 square foot front porch, improved driveways, not older than 2 years. Do you remember what was it, 2 or 4 years that you guys? 2, so that that's probably the one you're in. So, I mean.
So they already allow single wides to start with.
And there's single wides are allowed in all of Grinders.
All right, that was my point.
Just
Single wides are already allowed in Grinders anyway, and that's. So if we change where they live, simply say shingle roof, right, Heather? And no metal siding. That doesn't change much, okay?
But they'll be able to put a trailer there. I mean, they'll be able to replace their trailer.
But Jerry said he didn't want to do any of them without doing all 3 of them. I don't agree with that. Even though Magnolia Gardens is illegal, it says double wides only.
So what do you propose on the other 2? Get rid of the 2 ordinances? Wouldn't that then open up that they can bring either way?
If we get rid of the 2 ordinances and replace it with architectural controls, it won't change much, right, Heather?
Well, there's
Then the
3
other ordinances.
ordinances altogether, right?
Magnolia Gardens, new at the time of installation, 1240. Wakulla Heights says.
Here's Wakulla Heights.
It's up there somewhere. Minimum living space, 1,300 square feet.
Southwest corner.
There's not even like living in Chico in Wakulla Heights.
There's, yeah, a dozen.
Can we do architectural?
1,300 square feet in Wakulla Heights and 3 years old.
All right, so if we look at just Grinders, all of Grinders right now allows single wide trailers, is that correct?
Single, block, double or single, yes. Single, double, or single family dwellings. Yeah.
Here's what I would suggest, if you guys will go along with it. Let's just address Grinders for now, already.
Well, if we're gonna put in aesthetic and architectural standards, we really need to be consistent, and we may need to even put it in all districts that are RMH, residential mobile home.
Do we have to do them all, in one motion tonight, or can we just deal with Grinders and then deal with the others separate?
That's what I would
You
recommend.
can, I mean, but you wouldn't, I'm not talking about rezoning with all that, it would be into your general zoning category if you did that, rather than doing this, which requires us to do the certified mails and everything, because it's already on the property as a zoning
Leave
ordinance.
Magnolia Gardens alone.
We've still got to get rid of that.
I mean, if you're asking me that kind
Can
of
we
a question, I have to say
can we
no.
get rid of the ordinance and remove mobile homes from everything except for Grinders, and then do architectural standards in Grinders?
Can you rezone the other two?
Rezone the other two.
Other two.
Yeah, you can come up with
To
different...
do the other two R1, that takes care of all of those people. And then basically we take care of some other folks by using the architectural standards in the other one.
You can have different solutions for the different subdivisions, yes.
And we do them one at a time, is what Richard
Let's
said.
don't kick it down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's handle them all tonight. Then if we can handle all three tonight by what you proposed, and I would go along with what it was you said, that we could do architectural restrictions in Grinders, and we could go R1 and the other two.
Yes.
Correct?
Do we need a motion on that? Can I make a motion on that? I make a motion.
Are the other ones, are they mobile?
Well,
There are
right now,
much
we
more.
don't have anyone
Yeah, they go.
that has raw land that's impacted, but there may be somebody out there. When we say that you can now no longer put a mobile home in those other two areas, they may step forward. We can certainly try that and see.
Yeah, you gotta go through public hearings anyway, so you're gonna flush that out.
Yeah.
What I wasn't sure about was the double wide only restriction in Grinders, and you answered that question. So by changing it to architectural in Grinders, we really haven't changed that much. You can already put a single wide in Grinders.
Mm-hmm.
We're just gonna say, it already has to have shingles on it, right? We're just gonna reiterate that.
And I gotta scroll back up again.
If somebody, say, just not to mix it up anymore, but say if somebody wanted to put a modular home in that area, would a modular home be classified as the same as R1, or is that gonna still be classified?
True modular is a house. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's built to better standards, just about. So someone would still be able to put a modular one in the R1.
All right, does anybody got a second for Jerry's motion?
I need to write down what Jerry's motion was.
Jerry's motion was, if I can sum it up for you.
Yes, you can.
To go in Grinders and use architectural controls in Grinders addition. Okay? The other two ordinances, repeal and zone those areas R1.
That is my motion.
I second it.
That solves their problem. It ain't gonna be solved tomorrow, but
They'll be able to fix their...
So is the age restriction will be removed from all three?
correct.
And the
Which is a moot point if you in an R1 zone in anyway.
And in Grinders, you'll be able to put either a trailer or a modular home, but in the other...
You can today.
But in the other two, it'll have to either be a modular home or a stick-built site home.
Correct. It'll have to be one that meets the R1 zoning category. And if your double wide that you've lived in for 30 years in Magnolia Gardens burns to the ground, you cannot replace it. Now, you could replace it today, it'd have to be with a new one, but you could replace it with a mobile home today. So that's really the big thing that's changing. And it sounds like the petitions I've seen, I don't want to sit here and talk about this all night, but that most residents are in favor of R1 zoning out there.
They are.
All right, more discussion? All for
Who
the motion?
seconded it? Sorry.
I did.
All for the motion?
Aye.
That was a lot easier than I thought it would be.
Ma'am, are you happy?
Months.
Please be happy.
Well, again, we inherited a badly written restriction, and we've just had to deal with it.
When I need anybody who's persistent, I'll give you a call.
All right, moving on.
We'll do Grinders first.
In this, we realize we got to develop the architectural guidelines. We got to look at everything. Do y'all want us to bring grinders back first?
Yes.
And then the other two?
Is there any way possibly, I think the guidelines we've had are a shingle roof and no metal side?
What about there's a porch, certain size square footage of porch?
We can't do that, right? If we can do it, then leave it in there.
We'll bring back, the only thing I'm saying is just in the essence of time, try to speed up. Realize architectural standards, no matter how slim they are always controversial.
Okay, well, let's agree on this, guys. Whatever's already there today, as far as the porches go,
and incorporate any of those that are already there incorporated. Gotcha. All right, we'll bring grinders and then just.
There today, they knew it when they bought it.
That's not affecting the mobile home itself, so I think we can make an argument under the statute that the porch and stuff is not the mobile home structure, which is what that statute is dealing with.
Okay. All right, so we'll bring back grinders addition, architectural standards and all that first, and then the other two will come right behind them.
Give time for Magnolia Gardens to get stirred up.
That's right.
Tell us their opinion.
That's right. Okay, thank you.
Housewarming party at the Rudds eventually.
Christmas party.
All right.
Maybe it won't take that long.
We need citizens to be heard. Randy?
Yeah, we passed citizens here.
Commissioner.
I wonder if it's Bob. No, Jim Park.
Up here before Bob Ramsey, that's something. Jim Parham, 2519 Surf Road, and I'm here to speak in favor of the Capital City to Sea Trails project and encourage people, as many people as can, to attend the public workshops, not only in Wakulla County, but also in Million County. I lived in Pinellas County for 20 years. I represented the St. Petersburg Chamber of Commerce. I was chairman of the Transportation Councils with a metropolitan planning organization in Pinellas County, a county of almost 1 million people. And we dealt with monorail, rails to trails and so forth. That is an incredible project down there. And that the little crossroads, Dunedin, Florida, was almost asleep, just like Panacea has some potential and whatnot. And you'd just be surprised at how much vitality, economic vitality, was created by this Rails to Trails project. And that wherever there was a little crossing, if there was a house, it got turned into a little shop or a little eatery. Restaurants that were closed on Sunday were just packed with people in there. And that, think about Angelo's down there, think about the old convenience store. That could easily be a bicycle shop. There are just so many attributes. In Atlanta, people seek out being on or near one of these trails. It contributes to property values. And as far as maintenance and so forth, speaking as one of the members of the Clarkton Bay Alliance, we have a general consensus amongst us that we will adopt a section of the trail to maintain it and pick up trash and mow it. So many people are mowing the other side of the road anyhow. Not a problem. And I think that would catch on whether Sea Cow and other organizations would jump in, Panacea Waterfront, maintain it, to take the pressure off of the county to maintain it once we build these things. But I can't tell you enough how much that will increase property values and our assessment role by doing this. Will this create more development? Yes. So what that's doing is taking the pressure off the households. If we can create a little more commercial development along the line here in a very healthy way, those people who wear those little tight pants carry money with them. And so they'll spend it. All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, Ralph?
A couple meetings ago, we discussed an issue of imposing restrictions on our boat ramps, and I think we unanimously voted that down. And we discussed that there's an existing restriction on Masha Sands. So as promised, I'm bringing that back. I don't think there's a need for that anymore, and so I'd like to see us remove it.
Okay, is that a motion?
Yes.
All right, okay, we got a motion and a second. This just brings Masha Sands in line with the other county boat ramps?
Correct.
Bob?
I just want to support this. I think it's a great idea, and just wanted you to have some citizens input in it. Thank you.
I'm going to support it also, just to get it in line with the other county parts.
I'm also going to support it.
Howard?
Do we have, I'm really unclear of what this is, and I should have gotten a better handle when I had the pre-conference, but at one point we were trying to get a handle on people using our docks and parking lots for extended storage areas, okay? Do we have anything in place right now that addresses that?
No.
Okay, and that was really one of the big
Docks
issues.
we do, though.
you
Docks
know,
we do. Docks we do, but not the parking.
But
Yeah.
so we have to get a handle on that also. We don't
They
want,
have to buy a boat ramp pass to park, correct?
But at the same
As it
time,
stands now.
at the same time, say if you got 4 vehicles that's coming to get in one boat, is the way I understand it. It's, say if you got 4 vehicles that's driving to go load up in one boat, that one boat's gonna pay the parking fee, but that one boat, whoever owns that boat, they'll have the one pass. There won't be like 4 passes for the 4 vehicles, even though they're all getting in the same boat. And as I understand it, this would make it to where they wouldn't be able to, those other vehicles wouldn't be able to get ticketed or hauled off or whatever.
That's right.
While they're there.
but the other vehicles could park on the street. They don't need the space of a trailer. What I'm concerned is, we have such limited parking space now, we really want to make it so the trailers, the vehicle and the trailer can park there. And if there's people that are using that shouldn't be there, I'm just looking at, we have such limited space, and I'm worried about enforcement issues.
Now, this only applies after sunset. I mean, that ordinance that I'm proposing to remove does not come into play during the day when there's the most traffic and most parking there. This only comes into play at sunset.
There's a special ordinance just for Mash and Sands is the reason I'm supporting it, and it gets rid of this special ordinance. It just applies to Mash and Sands only and makes it uniform across.
Do we have a problem there at Masha Sands?
I don't think so. I've never heard of
This
one.
is an ordinance that's been on the books for a long time, I think. And,
We haven't had a problem. We just try, this is a cleanup type of thing, is what you're saying?
Not since I've been, we haven't had a problem.
It's just to
see
make
as
it
a
unique.
cleanup.
Okay, well, we can always come back to it if a problem develops. Okay.
Commissioner Thomas, if you would you, so we can get everything right, read the official motion, please?
Absolutely. I move to approve to direct staff to draft an ordinance repealing section 7.002 from Wakulla County Code and approve to schedule and advertise the public hearing to consider adopting.
Okay, you gonna amend your second? Who seconded?
I don't know if we got a
Second.
second.
Okay, there you go.
All right, we got a
Okay.
second now. Any more discussion? Bob? All for the motion?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, my items are next. First one is, I'd like to form a group. You see who the proposed members would be here. Public Works Director, Person Service County Engineer, person serving as a county administrator, representative from the CRTPA, here's the group, representative from DOT, Louis is the Director of Community Development, and myself represent the board to come up with a list of future transportation projects that at least long-term type goals. We don't have anything really cohesive right now in our future, our transportation element of our comp plan. For example, tying a circle around, at one time we were looking at doing Raywinkle to Cager Posey, and in other words, just look at, without paying for a study, look at county long-term transportation goals, not necessarily focusing on 319. Once we get these in a plan, then we can go to the CRTPA and say, hey, look, we actually have a plan. We'd like to see about getting some funding maybe to convert Old Shell Point Road to a state road, for example, and have the state buy.
Take those stop signs off.
Take those stop signs off. I'm not saying that, so don't get anybody riled up, but maybe the state might want to come through and buy 200 feet of right-of-way on a certain road for a future bypass, or look at turn lanes in certain areas we think, more focused on county roads, I guess. Harry, would you mind, he was speaking about this earlier,
Yes, sir. I think this is something I've mentioned to several of you about this, is that it's something we want to do as part of the next update, and part of the GIS database is to create this overall plan that you'll have in your comp plan that says, here, if we build out, this is what it's going to look like. So as you go forward with development, what we're looking at is being able to connect the roadway network, so that what you have is you have a comprehensive roadway network for the future. You don't create the problems that we have now. Identify needs like on 319 of how you would provide access and be able to do those type of things. As I've mentioned to Commissioner Merritt, one of the things to look at is Spring Creek Road. It's sort of a reliever to 319, and just as you pointed out, is connecting that. At one time, that road was a state road. There is a provision in state law that allows us to go back and petition the state to take the road back over. And if we can relate it to the fact that this is a part of the comprehensive plan that you're putting together for your transportation network, then we can certainly demonstrate that this is a reliever road that would take pressure off of 319, because as I see what you've done with your town plan for Crawfordville and things like that, these are the kinds of things which you're not really looking for, people speeding through the town. What you're looking for is more of a town type of a feel, and this provides a reliever for that type of thing where people are trying to get down to the coast. And so it's really a great idea, and it's, as you go forward with it, something I'd like to introduce to the other counties that we're working with, to say, tell us what you want to do when you build out, and then we'll incorporate that and take those priorities into consideration as we develop the regional plan.
I think, DOT may look a lot more favorable at 319 if we actually had a plan, not only through the county, but actually out east and west, Anyway, this would just be a proposal to form a group to come back with some recommendations, not to adopt those recommendations, but simply bring them back to the board. And it'd be a non-political group.
Well, everything on this board has been non-political. I like the idea, but I'm concerned on the potential, for setting up a committee like this to make recommendations to the board. I don't know that it should be coming from the board, other than to direct our administrator by saying, we want to do this, we want to develop a long-range plan, and we want him to do the work of setting up this committee. And I haven't spoken to him about this, so putting more on his shoulders. And that committee more or less operates independently of our board. But I like the idea.
I mean, these were suggested representatives that could be on the committee. If you want to leave it up to David to form whatever this committee is, I'd still like to be on it, by the way. Form whatever this committee is, and then have that independent committee then bring recommendations back. That's fine. And the reason I want to be on it is because I was a public works director for 8 years. I'm an engineer.
Understand. But I'm just worried about the potential, and maybe the attorney can chime in sometime later, maybe with the administrator I'm just concerned about the separation and possible staff board conflict.
I'm in favor of it, though, with this plan.
I am.
And I make a motion, we approve formation of this recommended committee.
Well, I'd like to amend that, if possible, to direct the county administrator to move forward developing a committee to address the long-term planning proposed in this.
Same thing. It's just
coming from
David instead
from
of us.
David.
That's
Yes.
perfectly fine with me.
I changed the motion, put it.
Is there a second?
Second.
More discussion?
Just we got one comment.
Go ahead.
You've identified positions, but then you've just identified yourself. I mean, should that be chairman? Because, if you decide that you're not around anymore, you're going to still be on this committee if you're named. Yeah. Should we say chairman or chairman's representative or board representative?
I think that's fine.
I support chairman.
Which, I'm for voting for you to be on it.
You know why I want to be on it? Because I've been around it for so many years.
Right.
You've held every job in the county, so you know.
Had Cleve's job at one time.
Did a better job.
We'll also have a official resolution on the consent agenda for the next one.
Okay, you want to amend your motion to say chairman instead of? Okay.
I amend it, say chairman.
Okay. Any more? All for the motion?
Aye.
Motion passes 5.
Please, what Randy just did, he put on in all the bad water systems that you're having to correct. Everything you're doing is correct in what he did.
Good try, Jim.
Good try.
All right, the next item I had, this came up, I listened, I think we all know what the issue is that I had made a motion at a past board meeting to restore the speed limits to the 2000 level, and some conversation went back and forth, and I eventually said, fine, we won't change any speed limits until the CTST approves it. Heather, you listened to the tape, I think, right? And I think it's not crystal clear.
That's what it was, and then it was restated differently, so there was...
Well, another commissioner restated it differently and said they're going to come back before the board. The intention was never to come back before the board. The intention was the community traffic safety team would review each change, and once they approved it by their vote, then it would be implemented. That's what the intention was. And you can see in your example here, for example, when we did this on 61 over there by the daycare. They set the speed detector out there and said, all right, how fast are people really driving, and what's the speed limit set at? If you look at the last one, for example, now this is on MLK, posted speed 35, 85th percentile is 55 miles an hour. Now, I'm not saying this one's right, but generally you don't set the speed limit below the 85th percentile because it becomes a speed trap. I don't know, Charlie probably doesn't want to speak on this one, but you know, I've talked about this a few times. If you look at the other one, MLK is 55, the 85th percentile is 59. Obviously, it doesn't need to be changed at all. MLK, where it's 45, the 85th percentile is actually 48, so obviously that one wouldn't need to be changed. Anyway, I'm just asking, go along with the original intent, which is to leave it up to the community traffic safety team. If the community traffic safety team feels there are special circumstances that warrant it be posted lower than that study says, or the speed study says it needs to be posted lower, then fine, but not to come back before the board again and make it political.
I support that, Randy.
Okay, is there a second?
I second it.
All right, go ahead, Howard.
Okay, so there was a board vote, and then it was stated one way, and then it was stated another way, and then a vote.
Alan Brock restated my motion incorrectly.
After the vote, Alan restated it to Lynn differently than what it was.
Lynn was kind of on the fence about it.
That's right. Because Lynn actually asked, what did we just vote on, or
Yes.
what happened there, what the exact details, and that's when he restated it, but restated it.
Clearly to me anyway, my intention was let the CTST review the changes and don't implement them until they agree. And I'm codifying that, trying to codify that now.
Right, so yours is not a blanket going back to 2,000 speed limits?
Not unless it's going to look at each one individually, each one that has been changed since 2000, okay? For example, we started the daycare right there. And let me tell you what's a little different. The speed study says lower it to 45 at Trice Lane. The CTST, after the speed study, clearly demonstrated that 35 was posted too low, but opted to bring the 45 zone back past the daycare, so it wouldn't be 55 in front of the daycare.
Well, that specific issue, you know where I stand on that. I think we're doing the wrong thing there by raising the speed limit. And I think anywhere we have a congested intersection, and I don't understand the logic of the community safety traffic team for not wanting a low speed limit where Trice and Shaeville and two subdivisions and a daycare center and a community center are situated.
But do you agree that they are qualified to make that decision better than 5 politicians?
I don't know that they're any more apolitical than we are.
Want the sheriff to talk a second?
Sure, absolutely.
Come on, Charles. Come get you something.
Thank you. I would ask that you defer to the CTST on this and let them bring the recommendations back to the board. You've got not only representatives of the sheriff's office on there, you've got DOT on there who set speed limits on state roads, you've got representatives of FHP on there. I would
defer to them and let them bring the recommendations back to the board. And one other thing on setting these speed limits, we need to make sure that when we do set them, that we set the signs far enough apart where people can get slowed down before they enter to the lower speed zone.
Here's kind of where the confusion came in, okay? Bring it back to the board is the part that I'm trying to get away from. The board voted to reset it to 2,000 levels. Let the CTST look at it. If they agree with that 2,000 level, immediately go out and change the speed limit. Not bring it back to the board for the board to talk it over again, because we're politicians. And like Charlie said, the people that are on that are the DOT guys, the emergency management's on there, the sheriff's department. They didn't all agree with changing it back, but we voted and we agreed to change it back. And that's the way I'd like to proceed.
And so I'll be in the minority on this one, obviously. But when there's especially on this one, where there's a difference of opinion on I don't know what the vote was. I don't know if it was like 7-1 or 4-3 or whatever it was. But when there's a significant minority position coming out of the Public Traffic Safety Committee, I think the board deserves to see that.
It was a Democratic vote, let's put it like that. Okay,
and one vote wins.
That's correct. Right. Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-1. Okay, Howard?
Okay. So, this is based on what we discussed during discussion period last time, and this agenda item requests the board approval to amend the start time for the board county commission meetings, first and second meetings of the month, to change it from 5 to 6 p.m. And so option 1 is to approve the change in the starting times of a board regularly scheduled county commission meetings from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And it seemed like we had a good head count consensus at the discussion, so I hope that it moves forward. That's a motion.
Okay. You got a motion, is there a second?
I second it.
Okay. You want to go ahead and let our speaker talk? Come on, Bob.
Y'all didn't think I was going to get away with that one more time, I hope. I understand 6 o'clock, I do. But there's more to be taken into consideration than just moving the time to 6. We got county employees that will have an hour to go to, I guess, nothing. I mean, they'll just lose an hour of their day. We pay them overtime, some of them get comp time, and we're always concerned about our budget. The other part of that, some of them have children, and getting home at the difference here maybe would be 8 o'clock versus 9 o'clock, and if you started at 6, so it makes a difference to seeing them before they go to bed or not in a lot of cases. So I just think we should take those people into consideration, and then the citizens. There's a lot of elderly people that, probably more elderly people that watch this than there is people our age, and Gary, yeah. So those people, sometimes I know they go to bed a little earlier. So I didn't see a problem with it at 5. I enjoy it. And I wanted to say this. Until 1991 or thereabout, we had meetings at 9 o'clock in the morning. So we had the 2 o'clock meetings, and that wasn't very popular, and I think some things were brought up about it being in the middle of the day, but from when the county started, I guess, 1800 or 1900 or there about till 1991, they were at 9 o'clock in the morning. So it's not unprecedented to be a thing.
I'd like to keep it the way it is for several reasons. Number one, I think it gives, the way we have it now at 5, does certainly not exclude citizen participation. We've all seen that, starting at 5. The reason Bob gave, I think, is a valid reason. The employees get off work at 5, they can come straight over here to the meeting. And I think another important thing to me is, personally, I think our minds are a lot fresher earlier in the day. That's why, I'm not very going to support this, and David's probably going to hit me when I say this. I'd rather have a meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday when my mind is clear. Don't worry, Evelyn, nobody's gonna suggest that. But I'd rather have the meeting in the morning when my mind is fresh, you know, and then, because we get here late, we're sitting around at 9 o'clock, we're getting tired, we're hungry, we're ready to go home, and maybe we have a little less time to think things through a little more. So I just assume keep it like it is. That's my 2 cents.
I agree.
That's gonna be me again, huh?
That's gonna be Ralph.
Man in the middle.
I agree with Ronnie, just in case you didn't hear that.
Well, I mean, I made it clear last time that I don't have a preference on time, you know, it doesn't matter to me, so, I mean, I agreed to go along with the 2, so, I mean, in fairness, I think I've got an obligation to go along with the 6, and it's a difference of an hour. Maybe county staff can come in an hour late that day and knock off at 6 that day. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, but I mean, I'll support it.
I intend to support the 6, because I, even though, you know, we have people that get off at 5 here locally, but we have so many people who live in Tallahassee who get off at 5, and this will be just enough time for them to get home. Even if they're not able to actually physically come here, they'll be able to at least get home and see the beginning of the meeting on TV, either one or the other.
Would anybody be interested in a compromise, if you want to call it, to have all the public hearings held at 6? Keep the meeting start time at 5, because we got a lot of boring business to go through. The public hearings are the most important things, and move all those to 6 o'clock.
Well, we had an issue tonight that was pretty important, you know, several that were in public hearings, and, you know, to pick and choose, I think, I'd rather not do that. I mean, if you wanted to move things up to the beginning of the meeting, even on a 6 o'clock meeting, of having, like we do the awards, and the citizens to be heard possibly. But even then, if you do that, people that are working, and that was always my major thing, the people that are working, that group of people, that's who we're punishing, especially the ones that are working in Tallahassee.
These people that want to attend the board meetings?
Or watch it on television, or come when there's an issue. And now, we've taken, you know, our own commissioner colleague here had to take time off in order to, you know, leave time or whatever. I mean, that's unfair.
Would you agree, Ralph, to give it your litmus test like you did at 2 o'clock, and then we're going to treat everybody the same?
Well, I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, I really didn't see a big difference between the 2 and the 5. You know, the big difference that I did see is the amount of complaints about the 2 o'clock. I didn't. I don't think, you know.
Are you getting complaints about the 5 o'clock?
No, just started. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've had 5 o'clock meetings since I've been here.
Yeah.
People aren't coming out of the woodwork saying they want to change the meeting to 6.
I mean, it's an hour. To me, it's not there's a big difference between 2 and 5, much bigger than 5 to 6. You know?
I think basically that hour is very important to all the mothers.
Well, the thing is, we'll be here later an hour.
Well, it's 8 o'clock now, so we're about to wrap up. We're talking 9 probably at least, and so.
And tonight's been a pretty involved night.
Yeah.
And I usually
I'm gonna vote against
go to bed at 8.
Yeah, me too. I don't agree with it, but I'll go along with it. All right, any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. You vote yes.
Is this starting at the next meeting?
3-2, it passes.
We have things advertised.
We'll have to see when.
We'll have to start in August.
Yeah.
So we can do 5 o'clock for July, and then we can do the August, start at 6. Is that what? I mean, I'm sorry. What'd you say? Start in August because we got to advertise each week?
Because of public hearings that's already been advertised.
That's both meetings, right? And you got one. All right, discussion items. Ralph, you got any?
I do. Real quick.
What?
Have the county attorney.
Wait.
Forgot all about that first.
Also, Commissioner Kessler has an item as well.
We're requesting
Discussion items.
requesting board approval, based upon recommendations from the Court Enforcement Board, to have the county attorney's office begin the process to review and proceed with the foreclosure actions on the properties listed that have outstanding code enforcement liens.
Okay, is there any motion on this issue?
Motion to approve and to direct the county attorney's office to proceed with conducting background research on each code lien listed above and proceed with foreclosures as necessary.
Second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay. All right. Richard, I know you wanted to.
Well, I'm gonna say that I'm gonna be voting against this just because, I have a personal issue against foreclosing on citizens' property. And, that's one reason I'm gonna be voting against this. I know we went through it during the the workshop and everything, but I'm gonna have to vote against it.
Just for the viewing audience watching this eager excitement we had a long discussion about this at the
Workshop, 2-hour workshop.
Right, and this is not foreclosure on homestead properties, which we don't do.
Not homestead properties, these are either vacant parcels or these are untaken care of rental properties. They will have the chance, even though we're moving forward, they will have the chance to come back and try to negotiate. Some of these liens are a lot of money, they'll have a chance to negotiate, they can try a payment plan, but they just absolutely are not in compliance and they're causing a lot of problems for their neighbors. Okay, any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye. Well, I think we had one person, I didn't know if he'd filled out a card or not.
Yeah.
He did fill out a card.
Is there a card? Oh, I'm sorry. Come on, sir.
This is the minister at the Methodist Church in Ocklackney Bay.
I have a copy of my written statement for all of you. Do you have one?
I've got one.
Thank you, Commissioners. Chairman Merritt, I have learned a lot today. I have learned that you can have chicken in one place, you can have chicken in another place, but chicken in a different place is a chicken of a different experience. And I don't know how I'm going to work that into a message, but somehow it's going to get there.
I need to put that on TV.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you today, this evening now. I apologize. I did not know that this issue was going to be brought up in the workshop. Otherwise, I would have been here promptly for the workshop. I will certainly go home and watch it on video from the county website so that I can be brought up to speed with your discussion. I have the distinct honor and pleasure of serving as pastor of two churches, both here in Wakulla County, being Sopchoppy and Ocklackney Bay United Methodist Church. I come to you this afternoon to speak on the behalf of those who may not be able to speak for themselves. I have come to be an advocate, to give voice for at least one individual, perhaps many others. I have also come to give a face for those who cannot be here at the meeting themselves for many different reasons. Commissioners, on today's agenda, item number 19, which is before you now, presented to you by the county attorney, I would like to offer for your consideration these important insights. While I, a resident of Wakulla County, understand code violations are important and need not to be completely ignored, I also understand that there are circumstances for each individual case that must be considered and balanced against the possible outcome, especially the foreclosure of property. I have first-hand knowledge of one of the addresses that are now before you, to which you will approve or disapprove for foreclosure because of a code enforcement lien. If I may, I would just very briefly give you a brief synopsis of the circumstances that has landed this individual person and his property on this list. For confidentiality reasons, I will refer to this person as Mr. B. Mr. B's mother passed away some 5 years ago, leaving to him property located in Sopchoppy of Wakulla County. Property that was bought and paid for by the blood and sweat of his parents years ago. Mr. B lives in a very meager trailer, and I mean a very, very meager trailer. As a matter of fact, the trailer does not qualify him for homestead property exemption. The property he lives on encompasses 5 acres. The property is all that he has and nothing else. Mr. B has a physical handicap and lives on a meager income from Social Security. His only means of transportation is a bicycle, which was refurbished by donations from a couple of donors about 2 years ago. I personally, is that my time?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Cut a preacher off.
Thank you. I have personally spent a good number of hours with Mr. B in counseling and just being a friend who recognizes the value of others regardless of their race, their education, their income, or their potential to repay me with anything. Because of a personal dispute with the neighbor, Mr. B now was reported to code enforcement, and over the course of time, these violations now amount to nearly $25,000. Mr. B is a man of great pride, not wanting to impose upon anyone his burden and his trials. On most occasions, when I would go by his place, many times up to 3 days a week, Mr. B would be outside in his yard raking, making a pile, trying to get the place into a presentable status where these fines could cease. Commissioners, I stand before you today as the voice of Mr. B. I ask you on behalf of others also to deny this request to proceed to foreclose because of code enforcement liens. I tell you the truth on behalf of Mr. B's and the other residents of Wakulla County. When you take their land, their largest asset, you in essence are taking their lives. Our Wakulla County residents are proud people, and so they should be. Many of our residents have family genealogy that goes back into the last century and beyond. Jobs have ceased and many struggle to make ends meet. We all understand those facts. But Commissioners, I invite you to look at the person, to look and to realize that there is a face, an actual human being who is going to be adversely affected by a possible decision to proceed in foreclosure because of a code violation. If necessary, absolutely leave the lien in place, but don't take their land and don't put them on the street. I'm particularly drawn, and I'm going to close with this, although I have written more. I'm particularly drawn to the German definition of compassion, which means to suffer alongside with another. Commissioners, I ask you now to show this kind of compassion to all of these people who will be affected by your vote. Respectfully submitted to the Wakulla County Board of Commissioners, Kevin Hall, Sopchoppy, Oklahoma Bay.
Thank you. Heather was, or Richard.
Well, I'm the one that voted against it.
Well, wait.
Okay, go ahead. Did you already vote yet? Okay, go ahead.
Well, we haven't? I thought we did.
Well,
Vote.
we did.
It's 4-1.
4-1. Anyway, huh? All for the motion?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Aye. You opposed?
I'm opposed.
All right, now, 3-2 passes. Right, Jerry?
Yes.
Okay. This violation, this property was given to him 5 years ago. Was it in violation at that time?
2008 is the date that the complaint was received and the initial inspection was done.
He didn't inherit the violation then?
I don't know when he got the property, so I can't.
5 years ago, he didn't inherit the violation. That would be a different case to me, but, okay. All right.
I'd just like to make a comment. I mean, going forward, I'm not opposed to foreclosure actions, but, you know, we discussed a lot in the workshop today, and this might be one of those examples. And for the folks that didn't hear, my proposal today is maybe we can go in and clean those properties up, and we can put a special assessment. If that can be done here, like the pastor said, we could, leave the lien on the property, or if we put that special assessment there, it could be that, through taxes or through tax sales, then we recoup that money, so there's no financial impact.
Unfortunately, we don't have that option. I think that is a good option. And this property, like I said, this isn't the end of the road now. They can always come back and, first of all, get it out of code violation. One of which is the camper this person's living in. That's one of the violations they're being fined for. And if this was a homestead property, by the way, you could not foreclose on it. Right. So if it had a single wide or something that qualifies as a home on it, this would never have gotten this far.
So if we can make arrangements to clean it up, maybe get Habitat or get a group of folks
Richard and I admire him working on this. I think he's going to work on it. And
I've taken a personal interest in this property to do what I can to help bring it into compliance.
The issue, and whatever you can, I'll support you to try to get it resolved. But I think we have to treat everybody the same.
Reverend Mr. Hall, on this particular issue, as we go down the road to foreclosure, they can clear that out. We don't have to go, if he will correct the items, then we can take that away. most likely. It just can't more or less sit there as it is with whatever. So when you and Richard get together on that and clear that up, then that's the end of that issue, hopefully.
Well,
Maybe.
still the residents though.
Yes.
They could-
And we're not foreclosing on homesteads. That's not what we do. These are, a lot of them are investor-owned properties or whatever, but there will be no homesteads that will be foreclosed.
Ralph, you got any discussion items?
I do.
All right.
Real quick, just wanted to give you guys some stats. Pull this up here. We all know the Rock the Dock tournament happened a couple weeks ago. Just wanted to give you a little bit of follow-up on that. As the board's representative to the TDC, wanted to make sure you know that Rock the Dock qualified and received a $1,000 grant from TDC. Just some stats, over 60 volunteers worked the event that weekend. 2011, 208 people participated. 2012, 340 participated. And this year, 444 participants in the event. Of that, 157 were from Wakulla County, 182 were from Florida and other counties, 4 from Alabama, 60 from Georgia, 3 from Kentucky, 2 from Tennessee. It's estimated over 5,000 people were in Panacea that weekend. $11,750 was given away in prizes, including cash and John boat, a boat and trailer.
A fellow in Vietnam and
Yeah.
fellow in Afghanistan.
Paid $100 for a ticket. Well, if anybody's gonna win besides me, I guess.
and a kayak. So just wanted to give you a little bit of feedback of how that, TDC dollars played into that, and how this event is continuing to grow, and hopefully we'll continue to get bigger and better
Good use
each
of
year.
money, I think.
Yep, absolutely.
Gary?
Just a couple of things. I'll expand on what Ralph said. At the same time, 2 weeks later, the Senior Center had the first annual kayak tournament, and they brought 100 people in from all over the country. They had $5,000 in prizes, and they had a wonderful event out at Skip Young's farm. Just a couple of things totally off the side, and I see that Dancy has left. But anyway, the sheriff mentioned spacing the signs so that you didn't get caught going from one to the other. Well, I had the unfortunate pleasure of meeting one of the sheriff's babysitters from a long time ago. I was coming into Tallahassee at the school out of Thomasville, coming into Tallahassee, and your longtime babysitter pulled me over. I went from 55 to 45 real quick, and so she didn't give us a ticket because I told her I knew the sheriff.
That's not a true story.
I actually don't have anything. Richard?
I don't have anything.
I guess, well, Howard's actually got something on the list. If he didn't, we'd end the meeting by now. Carrie, talk about something else and we're waiting on that. Tell us about that time you dragged the trash can down the road again.
Yeah, I will. I'll tell you about. I wrote an article about that, and I didn't send it in. But for all of you folks who are on the trash situation, and I heard from a lot of you that you live a long way off the road and that you're old. Well, I'm also live a long way off the road, and I'm so old also. But when I was in Georgia, we always lived a long way off the road, and we hooked a trash can on the back of on the trailer hitch. And so as we go down 2,000 feet to the road, sometimes we have other things on our mind. So we pull out on the highway, and Virginia was with me at one time. I did it 4 times, but she was with me one time. And it's about 4 miles to the interstate, so I go traveling down the road, and we're about 100 yards from getting on the interstate. Virginia says, "Yeah, I hear something dragging. There's something back there dragging." And I had drug the wheels off the trash can. I drug the bottom out of it. Trash was 4 miles down the road. So if you do, the trailer hitch is a great way, but you got to remember to take it off when you get to the road.
It wasn't a dog, right?
Yeah.
All right, Howard, we had to do a little filler there while we're waiting on you. Your turn for discussion, yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so I have one item on there, and then there's a couple of other items I've added that I've had notes on. So there's concern over the 2012-2013 budget expenditures. Actually, it should be 2011-12, I guess. Last year, we had the Sheriff's Department close out their year under Sheriff Donnie Crum, and we all received some emails on that, I believe. Hopefully you all did. Questioning, summary, there was about $200,000 or $230,000 that wasn't spent at the end of the year.
I don't know if I got that email like that or not.
Oh yeah, we all did. It was copied to everybody. It was probably 6-8 weeks ago. Yeah, at least. And so there was like $230,000 that was in excess at the end of the year, somewhere around that. And then apparently Sheriff Crum decided that he was going to make a one-time salary adjustment. Does that ring any bells?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So a one-time salary adjustment and give about $100,000, as best as we can figure, to employees of the Sheriff's Department. Then there was a questioning of whether that was okay to do. Okay, and we asked for an answer from the Sheriff's Department to clarify that. And then there was some email there was a letter from which Sheriff Crum had put out that. There was a letter, email from Nadine Barwick of the Sheriff's Department, Financial, and there was a question posed to, I think, one of the attorneys from the State Sheriff's Association. In other words, here's the enclosed letter, here's what we did, is that okay? With reference to present law, which our attorney had questioned. So that's the background for this. And I don't think we've gotten the proper answer yet. And I think that this board deserves a proper answer of whether what was done in the Sheriff's Department was okay to do unilaterally, was okay to do in reference to recent statute in 2011 specifically. And we all have that statute.
When you say one-time salary adjustment, you mean a bonus.
What does that mean? A one-time salary adjustment, or if you call it a one-time cost of living?
It's not, in other words, it wasn't, if they made a certain amount of money this year, they made the same amount of money next year. It wasn't an across-the-board raise. It was a one-time cash disbursement.
It's also not a credit on, it's also not added to retirement or anything. It's just a one-time bonus, but I don't condone what was done. I just wanted to.
It was a most equivalent to a bonus. It wasn't everybody got a raise at one time.
Okay, this is after the year ended, as I understand it. This appears to be a bonus, although in some cases it's written as an increase in COLA.
Best analogy.
Yeah, I
understand.
I certainly understand that, and I guess, but I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth. So it's, yes, the one-time salary adjustment could, in most people's eyes, would be interpreted as a bonus. At least that's my interpretation. Well, if there are two things involved. One, I think we deserve an answer from the Sheriff's Department as to, was that okay to do legally? Okay, and I think we also deserve some accountability for, at a time when we're holding the line and we're trying to, and this is a past board, but I'm using the term we, okay, our employees have taken furloughs in years past, our employees haven't had raises, and then for the Sheriff's Department and Sheriff Crum to go and issue these bonuses I think flies in the face of everything the county was doing, and I think they had an obligation to coordinate and discuss this with the county Board of County Commissioners before that. So I am looking for clarity legally on what was done. I want to get some comfort level that it was either done properly or improperly, and if it was done improperly, I think we deserve to get that money back in the county coffers. So that's my discussion item. I am planning on putting it on the agenda at the next board meeting.
About it before.
Okay, because I think this is really important.
And if I remember correctly, Jerry, you were on the board, you and I were the only two that were on the board at the time, but that was the same time that clerk's office, I believe, was furloughing. Is that that same time period?
I think so.
I believe it will be the last year.
Be an interesting agenda item.
Okay, well, be prepared.
Okay, and
All right.
some other things?
Two more things, yes. We got into this discussion, and we're still carrying it on to the next meeting on the community center. And I've been asked by several citizens about the sign that's on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Road that says future home of Wakulla County Civic Center. And,
Expo Center.
well, whatever it says now, it's getting confusing for the citizens thinking that, is this our community center? Is this our civic center? What is it? So I'd like to maybe bring that back, or if we can have a head nod to just ask TBC if they can maybe take down that sign, because that's not what's happening. TCC rather, TCC. Yeah.
I think you got a head nod from me. There's something not going to be an Expo Center there.
Yeah, I'll talk about that.
Okay, we'll get that. So, and then there's another thing that I didn't have time to get to, but I will get out there and take a look at. I've been also by citizens saying that, and I don't know this for a fact because they didn't eyeball it myself, that there are signs in our Med-Art recreation facility that says you can't bring food onto the premises. So even when there's no games there, people are being told they can't bring, I'm told this, I haven't eyewitnessed it myself, they can't bring a thing and sit down with people around the grill or use the picnic table. Don't know that for a fact, but I'll be checking it out. Okay, that's my 3 items.
All right, we have a motion to...
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All right, we're adjourned.